At the public, I was like, oh, I can't say hello.
44, budget hearing.
What did you say?
He's in rare form.
Oh, is that right? Oh,
Yeah.
It's gonna be
Beware.
sweet. He's Councilman Stegman.
oh, geez. I'm gonna sit up here if you don't mind, I'll probably just work. How are you?
Ben.
This is. This is absolutely. Your hands are so warm.
Michael, it's 9 o'clock. I think he's going to be a little bit late, as Sue said, so, I'm going to keep things going.
For our first session is gonna be probably the longest and most difficult, so we might as well start.
We did allow an hour for the police department, so.
Okay. All right, very
I'll try to keep it under a half hour, but make sure you have your morning coffee and break.
So just so everybody knows, we have two sessions, one in the morning, starts with the police department, then it goes to the court administrator, municipal clerk, construction official, and we end the morning session with public works. The afternoon session starts at 1, and that will be with the finance department, and then the tax assessor. And then we can also go over the tax collector's budget. Sue, did she give that to you?
She did.
So, and then we'll adjourn after that.
Fantastic. Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you. As we're opening our 2024 budget hearings for the Lambertville budget for 2025. These are administrative hearings only, made up of administrative staff from the city of Lambertville. There is no governmental action taken here. The mayor is with us as a spectator. There will be no public comment during the sessions, but they will be recorded and available to the public as well as we move through the budget process. So our first meeting today is with Lieutenant Brown. So we'll be moving through the presentation. Lieutenant Brown, you've always come well prepared. Thank you. So we'll talk about salary and wages, and other expenses, and then end with capital, and anything else along the way. So if it's okay with everyone else, I will just say, let the lieutenant begin his presentation.
Just one other thing I just wanted to say is that this is the staff presenting their budgets. It's not necessarily what will be approved.
Very important. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I provided the budget committee with the budget packet that I put together. And you'll see in the packet that I emailed out, there's an additional, a newer spreadsheet I put in an Excel sheet, which I thought was gonna be. Sorry. So, budget sheet that we put together, an Excel sheet. So, and almost, it was a day about before, Michael, you sent out your Excel sheet for our, input and put our numbers in for the OAE. But, so if you look at the spreadsheet, it puts in, what I wanted to do is perspective of putting a request in from the appropriation from last year and why the 2025 request might be a little bit higher or requesting more or the same. So that, to me, that's helpful when we go through this presentation. So that's one thing we additionally added into the packet. So by looking over initially with the, if you want to do the salary and wage, Michael, to go over first.
Please.
I kind of love things a little bit differently than you do. It's all, but at the end, the numbers are all should add up, hopefully. And I did run past the numbers through finance already, so my numbers and finance numbers pretty much add up together. So for the salary and wage, we're looking at the contracted officers, which are the police officers. We're looking at a total salary of $1,039,888.07. Now, with that being said, now we can add in the longevity, which is part of the contract, which is line, which is also, I guess, part of the 101 line item, which is 20,961.46. That's for longevity. So we have the educational incentive, which is line 107. Which also includes the corporal's pay and the detective's pay in there as well, which is $7,140.
Just real quick, what is the education, in one sentence, what's an educational incentive?
Any college, per contract, whatever the, any college education the officer has, certain guidelines, a couple paragraphs, I can pull out the contract. for you,
That's okay.
But it goes into the college incentives to have a college degree. And it's projected for, the college degree has to be for law enforcement.
So you have members of the force who intend to take classes in 2025.
Not that, it's already ones that already have established their credits already,
Okay,
they have their degrees already. So it's continuing, longevity is continuing for the rest of their career, or as long as it's in the contract.
okay.
So, and the breakdown on the sworn officer salary sheets, will break down, show you for each officer what their educational incentives are. From their, from masters all the way down to associate's degree.
Okay.
Moving on, 102, we also, line 102 is also, I guess, in this, we consider as a salary and wage line, and that's the overtime line that we have. So, I also put that on my spreadsheet. So let's take a little bit of time to talk about the overtime. Projected for this year already and mind you, it's November. We can talk about this later because I have something that remarks about the budget and why we ended, really we're ending our budget in November. We can't spend any more for the projected year, but we'll move on. We'll say that for later. But for the overtime that we have now, we're projected, because throughout this year, we have had an officer out for medical leave for 2 months in the beginning of the year. I've had 2 officers out on medical leave for childbirth, and another one prolonged medical for other medical reasons. So with that being said, and we're down an officer this year, which we tried recruiting for almost a year and a half. Our overtime has gone over the projected amount that we had in the budget for this year, or will be going over with finances projections. Kind of knew that coming into this a couple months ago. We were looking at the numbers, and we knew that was coming. So with that being said, when we move down to some of the other line items, some of the line items that I can hold off for purchases for next year. I've done that. I'm trying to keep a balanced budget, which I believe from coming from finance, we're going to be able to do this year.
Great.
Still not go over, even though we had these additional expenses. With that being said, in 2022, we had a projected overtime, or at least the budget for overtime, for $79,000. That was in 2022. We cut that down. Mind you, it wasn't spent, right? So we cut that down to what we are at today's rates, or for this year. So since 2022, we've had salary increases. We've had officers every year with the contracting increase, but also the officers have also moved up in steps, meaning their progressive step until they get after 10, 11 years, whatever it might be, the top step, but they've moved up in steps too. What that does is also move up the overtime rate. And at the same time, when you have younger officers, they have a choice of taking overtime. They also have a choice of taking comp time and putting that on the books. If you're, and that's contracted, right? So we don't have any control over that. That was something that the administration implemented in our contract over 15 years ago. By throwing comp time in. We didn't have that in there before. We have that in there now. This is as of 15 years ago. So by saying that, now you have an officer who's been here 10 years and now has backed up his, I want to say, instead of taking overtime payout every overtime shift that he works, we're not paying that money out as a city because he's taking comp time. He's putting that in for comp time. So it looks good in our budget because if you look at 2022, I think we spent only $30,000 in overtime. How did we do that? because the officers bagged most of their overtime. We didn't pay out that year. So guess what? Now we're maxed, these officers, are maxed out with their comp time, meaning putting that on the books. The federal guideline, you probably know better than I do, it's like 480 or something like that. Even that, it's not even mentioned in the contract. So with that being said, it could even be higher. So we're maxed out. So now officers are maxed out with their comp time. So now they're taking overtime for their shifts. Rightfully so, by law, they're allowed to. So, anyway, so these are some of the reasons why the overtime is at where, and I foresee that happening moving forward because we've had younger officers at first, the bottom two seem to be rotating in and out with officers because our starting salary is considerably lower than most departments. If I see anybody that has 5 years or longer are going to be staying with the city. They're very happy working here. But in the same thing is that they maxed out, they're putting their comp time away. They're pretty much maxed out of that. So now we're looking at, when anytime they work overtime, they're going to be getting paid for, they're putting in for paid getting overtime. So these are some of the reasons why the overtime is the way it is. So anyway, can we move on from that? Or it's a good explanation of that, of the reason for the increases. So with that being said, for the projected overtime this year, we're going from 71,500. And what I got a projected rate from finance is as of November, we're gonna be 14,000 over.
I want to give you an opportunity to finish your thoughts. I have some
Okay.
questions for you.
So we're gonna be 14,000 over in overtime. And, I don't see that changing next year. We're still gonna be, we're gonna be in deficit for officer wise. We're gonna be sending 2 officers we can discuss that further down the road, meaning in this budget hearing here, we're gonna be sending 2 officers to the academy next year.
Well, let me pause you there then, because that's very important information. First, I just want to welcome Christie, our CFO, has arrived. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
All right, so thank you for that very descriptive understanding, and I think that references to contract are correct and fair. Cost of policing is the cost of policing. That's all we have in contract. Can you please just give us a sense of where your personnel is in currently, and what it's gonna look like in the 2025 budget? So you have X amount of officers, you're going to need X amount, et cetera, just in
So in general terms, we'll make it quick.
no names, just
Correct. So at the end of the day, it's gonna be 11 officers total. That includes myself.
currently.
Yes.
Okay,
And that's not gonna change. But what we have changed is a officer retirement, and I'm still, I'm down an officer this year, so we're still trying to hire an officer.
so you have 11 positions.
Correct.
And of those 11 positions, how many of them are currently filled?
10.
10 are filled currently. And then you expect in 2025, you're going to have how many retirements?
1.
So that if nothing changes, then you're gonna have 9 positions filled with 2 vacancies at that moment.
Correct, but hopefully we have that 1 vacancy filled in January.
As soon as January, not January 1st, somewhere within a year, you fill that vacancy.
Well, I'm hoping January.
January, okay. All right, so,
First.
but you'll be funded for 11 positions.
That's correct.
All right, and the, okay. This year, you had, how long did you have vacancies this year? We had 10 filled.
That was the entire year that we had.
One
I would, yeah, 1 vacancy. That's why we were able to incorporate some of this overtime cost out of the regular salary wage.
So you have 1 vacancy, and then you have officers who were on some type of leave.
Correct.
How many officers were on leave throughout the time?
Or,
4.
but not all at one time, spread out through the whole year. But if you look at, I can produce those numbers, but we have, I track it by sick time hours, right, for every officer.
Right.
We were not specifying officers here, but I can give you a whole amount of sick time total. I can read that for you, but at the end of the day, every time somebody, it's not like, working with a 50-man department, right? So we're looking at if you're doing without me, and I got 10 officers right now, so now I'm down to 9 officers without me in the schedule, with myself in the schedule. So with that being said, the policing standard nowadays, is 2 officers per shift. And that's a standard that going out to the whole state, and I think through a whole country, going to having 1 officer working, and it doesn't meet any of the requirements from the AG's office about having a supervisor with 1 officer, or even when you're making an arrest. DOC's Department of Corrections going to do standards. When I take them back to headquarters, how do I process them? You can't be left alone.
So 11 officers
forward to 2 officers per shift. But it gets tight, when folks are sick or,
As soon as someone takes off, they're fine.
right?
Bottom line.
So now looking in 2025. Having in 2024, 1 vacancy and 4 different leave events throughout the year. Do you expect 2025 with the hiring to have full complement of 11 officers?
Absolutely not, because let me send you to the academy. We're looking at 6 months of sending somebody to the police academy. And so, at the end of the day, we're still gonna be short 1 officer the entire year. If I make a hire in January, police academies are already full because we've had influx throughout the whole state of, people retiring, they're full. And the day of, hiring class 2s from, the shore towns, they're just not there anymore. And that's what Lambertville, those small departments in Hunter County rely on. And, with that being said, the class 2, you can do a waiver training, to cut down the training to 2 months instead of 6 months.
Okay, so 2025, you can't really anticipate what folks' needs is gonna be in 2025. So 2025 and 2024 will likely look the same in terms of
That's correct.
manpower. Okay.
That's why we kind of based our numbers off what we're dealing with today, this year, for next year.
Okay,
So then again, we don't want to be, as we spoke previously on, we all have obligations and we don't want to, and it was the budget administrator, the CFO, we all have administrative responsibilities, right? And I think one of my responsibilities also is not to have a budget shortfall, when leading the department.
Lieutenant Brown, I have a question.
Sure.
So you still have not identified, you still don't have candidates to fill those positions, is that correct?
That's correct.
So this could lead over to 2026.
Good, I'm optimistic that, we're gonna do our diligence trying to get these hirees, but it's just not posting, it's a whole process, right? So we have a diversity plan that we have to follow, and then it's mandated by the Attorney General's office, and we have to follow that, and we'll get down into some of the line items, when we're talking about, advertising. Now, to meet those requirements of diverse hiring, we have to do a broad hiring, just not posting at the league, just not posting a position on Facebook. So we go through, one of the companies that meet the requirements is called Police Apps. So it's a company that's nationwide, it gets posted, and the demographics that the AG's office requires us to have, they take care of that for us, put that in a format. So like say this year, we had, I was talking about probably 30 or 40 applicants, that we interviewed. All those applicants go in a diversity sheet, into an Excel sheet with all the demographics that are needed by the AG's office. We have to plug all that, information by hand, but we do have that information, available to us through Police App. So then we plug that in, and then everybody's happy. The AG's office is happy, I'm happy. But why I bring that up is it's been free, and the way this company makes the money is the applications through the applicants. The applicants pay $25 or $30, whatever it might be, to pay. Apparently, that's not, meeting the requirements, so now it's $1,500, we charge January 1st, you charge $1,500 to have that, to be able to do those postings.
So, can I just finish my questions? Do you have Cindy?
Yeah, I just have one more follow-up question to that. So that's even, so let's say you have a candidate, then you have to still wait to make sure that there's a class for them to go to.
That's correct. If we make we make a choice in January, the next class might not, I know the next class that's, is in February, that class is full. So now I'm looking at, instead of going to Berkshire County, now I'm looking at going Morris County, and that might be in March or April.
You had mentioned previously comp time versus overtime. If, in the contract given, but is that clearly the officer's choice or?
That's correct.
Okay. I think we need to all take a little time to look at that because I know that's, as you mentioned, it's a massive. And it is in the budget. It's just not in the current year budget. It's something that we have to deal with as part of the budget.
Correct, and that's gonna be a during contract negotiations, the city would have to agree, with the TBA to make any modifications to the contract.
I'm not.
I thought you were talking about modifying the contract, but
That was something else. No,
so that,
I'm suggesting that that money owed
Mhm.
is sitting on the balance sheet of the city.
Oh,
It's not just, it's not just somewhere else, and we do have to think about that in our budget.
along with the sick time, right, and vacation time,
That's right.
so, and
Accumulated absences.
we're not even close to that.
All right, and then as it relates to the academy, where did you put the academy charges in this year's projected budget?
So that's on our, trade,
Okay,
and that's on our line item 242.
Sounds like I'm at Walmart, doesn't it?
Yeah.
that's more of a
Like
marker.
specials.
Yeah,
All right, yeah, that's on our, and it's not so much the cost of, I think it's like 2,500 for the academy. It's not the cost, of the academy per se, it's, so 2,500 is a lot, but in perspective of normal college, that's not, for college president. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, but you're looking at not the salary you're paying out for 6 months for that officer, and not getting anything back from that. You're not getting patrol time, you're not getting coverage time. So, that,
do I remember, did you increase, last year, did we increase the size of the department by one?
we added one last year, and that was a detective, and he's in that slot, and it's working out very well. Follow-ups are getting done, 2 investigations, and we've had some major investigations and major arrests with child porn this year. And when we talk about vehicles and why I need, we're sitting undercover unmarked cars, that's part of the reasons why we need it. But yeah, so yes, working out very well. And, the patrol kids are number one, but at the end of the day too, that all these criminal investigations with somebody's feels violated, having somebody dedicated that's following up on their cases is very important, especially to the crime victim.
Okay, can we shift to your civilians, please?
Already? All right.
So how many, staying in salary and wages, how many, civilians positions do you have and how many are filled?
Sure, good. We have an office manager. We have a part-time secretary that wasn't filled. So, we had a part-time secretary that covered the desk when the office manager's out, and also doing discovery. Those departments have either a person dedicated to discoveries, and that includes the video, making body worn camera, and, between the body worn cameras, the videos, making car videos for every case that we have, even goes to municipal court. They're requesting all that information. So somebody has to take time. Right now I have, and it doesn't make sense, and it's not very efficient, but we're taking, I hate to pull my back to you, Cindy, but.
It's okay.
But I have a supervisor that's right now doing all that discovery work and gathering it up for the office manager to send out. So before that, that's what we had the part-time secretary, she was doing that. So we left that vacant after COVID. We had a retired person, she left. So that position's still open and it's not filled, and I don't plan on filling it next year. So moving on to the next one, we have a full-time parking enforcement officer. We also have 2 part-time parking officers, which cover nights and weekends. And we have also on the staff, we have a crossing guard. And we have a line item for meter pickup, whoever that might be. Right now, I have one of the parking officers doing that meter point pickup. But it could be from anybody if for some reason that position or being a person decides to leave. To be an person, but the hour, at the end of the day, it's the hours, right? So and it's getting paid same as the parking enforcement officers, but so that's what we have in the civilian budget. And we have a total for that civilian budget. It's a cheaper, and for projected for 2025, it's a 2% raise unless we're, the city decides to move into a 3% raise for their employees. But my numbers are based on the 2% rate, 2025, and I got total civilian budget was 132,835.01.
So we should make a note amongst this team that you've included that number in these civilian numbers, so that if we apply any other type of raise to other employees of the city, this has already been counted for here. Now we would end up creating a double factor, so you have the raises in that number, even though they've not been approved yet.
That's correct.
Okay. Can you explain why you're not going to fill the part-time secretary?
Well, Mike, a good question. At the time, after COVID, I thought I needed to take the it's always about where we can take the money that we have. And it's always, we only have so much to work with, and I allocated that. I made 2 additional corporals to meet the Attorney General guidelines to have a supervisor working. Someone's got to be responsible, you just can't keep patrolman, and that's where we ran into, and again, through the path of policing, right, that there wasn't enough supervision. So to make those corporal positions several years ago, or a couple of years ago, I put that civilian staff in, position to use it there, to incorporate their salary increases to the 2 corporals.
Are those corporals represented in this budget now, those increases?
They're already, that's what we were talking about back in the line item of 107. Is corporal and take those days.
Okay, so if we've accounted for it there, seems like we're also accounting for it twice by having a vacancy you're not gonna fill.
That is a negative. Reason why is because there's no, on the spreadsheet I gave you, it's 0, 0 for the position. I'm keeping the position on the books, so when I come to you and say, hey, we haven't done away with this position, we don't need another resolution from the council because the position is still there. I just need the mayor to approve to have the part-time position filled and add money amount into the budget. So at the end of the day, that's on the, if you look at the civilian spreadsheet, we have a secretary, part-time secretary position with 0, 0 for current wage.
Right, so that's helpful, so when we say we're leaving the position vacant, it also refers that it's funded, but not vacant, but you're not funding the position. As vacant, okay,
Can I make
please,
the $3,000 corporal fee in our system is included in their salary line. So that $3,000 should be added to the S and W line.
You don't say that again, so, because we have to get.
I'm not gonna say anything.
$3,000 that's listed for corporal fee is to their S and W line. Because it is pensionable. So it's part of their line. So that 3,000 needs to be moved from education to S and W.
I have, yeah, she keeps, her teacher, when I started out, your teacher a little bit different from mine, meaning where I put my numbers at. On my spreadsheet, it's listed that way. But at the end, if you look at the total grand total, your grand total is listed.
yeah, but what Sue was saying is very important. So in 2024, money was in education. You're saying, say it again, please, I'm sorry.
Yeah, in 2024, the money's showing in the education line. But in actuality, it was rolled into the salary and wages for those 2 corporals
Okay,
because of it being pension.
all right, so we're gonna have to make sure that I think it is important for your internal worksheets that you note that, because it is moving from an OE item to a salary and wage item.
Correct, on my spreadsheet, I do show that, with the marks underneath of the same detective, corporal, yes, it's marked.
So then, our education line, we should make sure on our working documents as we move on to the final version, that we don't have it in there twice. Thank you, Sue.
So it's not the,
That's fine.
it's not the education, it's the education incentive in the S and W line item, so that
Oh.
107.
Thank you. Okay,
All right, so it's in the right major line, it's in the right top line.
So in the education incentive line item, it would be 4,140, and then the S and W, the 101 line item would be $3,000 more. So
It's the 10.
the 107 would be $3,000 less, and then the 101 would be 3,000 more.
thank you. Okay. Anything else on salary wages from team?
Good.
Okay. All right, let's jump to OE. Like, I continue to take us through line item by line item.
Sure. Let's start with the easy one, 221, police advertising. I just spoke about that already, employment postings. We have so we have a plus of $320 this year on that account. But when I spoke, we have a with police apps coming up, we're gonna need a total of 1,500 additional for the yearly fee. So with that being said, I'm looking at a $2,000, a total $2,000 request, which last year's appropriation was for 400. The reason for that is, again, because of additional advertising for the police positions. On that one. So on postage, 222, so we have so right now on postage, is interesting. We're, currently the meters the coin meters that we have, we were able to send them out to North Jersey for repair. We do 3 or 4, and they're about 12 times, 3 or 4 times a year that get sent out for meter repairs. That gentleman retired, and to make the meters that we have now have to be, no one in the country, no longer repair their meters, so they have to be sent out to Canada. So our postage, we're over this year, it was by $17.33. The savings on that was because we had an extra line. I know it seems dragged out, but we had extra 19 meters for the bank lot that we closed down, we removed them, so we've been using them, the spare ones, but next year we're not gonna have that option any longer. So anyway, so back to postage, so 2024 appropriations for that was for 400. I'm doubling that to $800 for sending out, and that includes the sending out the meters for repairs. To get them to Canada. So anyway, so moving to, let's see, we got here 225. This is gonna be a tough one, Michael. Yes, it is. So we're in shortfall of motor vehicle, repairs. We're in shortfall of 1,023.34. So, for next year, I'm looking at, so this year there was appropriated 20,000. I'm looking at a request of 24,000, which should cover with any vehicle repairs. Some of the vehicle repairs were not done because we knew that the average maintenance, we should be the transmissions oil be changed once a year. That was not done this year, but I knew we were already going over for vehicle maintenance. So there's some things that I need done additionally. That's why I'm asking for the extra money. It's just preventive maintenance on the vehicles. That's why I'm asking for what we are. Even though I'm only over right now, $1,000, we're moving it up to, well, at least requesting for the 24 to do that.
All right, let's leave that as is, and we'll talk about your vehicle plan and capital.
Okay. 226. That's gonna be maintenance of other equipment. We're up by 100, and we have we're up, or a plus of $198. So in that line item includes is body worn camera repairs, radio repairs, MVR repairs, flashlight repairs, radio repairs, and certified speedometer. Pretty much, not asking, keep that the same. We fell right in where we should be falling in for that. But on the budget gap. So we went to 229 other contractual items. A lot of things are thrown into this, right? 229. So what I'm doing is asking to keep that look like we are in a plus on that line item, but we should go over some of the things that are in that other contractual items. It's going to be alarm company, copier, drug testing costs, site test, body worn camera, NVR licensing, medical tests for hirees. Interesting on that. So the PTC licensing, and I don't know if you've been dealing with that, so they've added some additional things that need to be done for the licensing, and so we weren't doing full medical evaluations of the candidates that we were having. Now that's required, so that's an additional cost. And we're looking at the psychological evals. they used to be able to do them online. Now PTC is requiring them to be done in person. So we've seen an increase on the site evals. And going, so what we've seen is going from 475 up to 800. I don't know what's going next year is going to bring, but I know the evals we have for that. So we have two, we know for the upcoming year, we talk about the new applicants, and we're going to have two additional applicants, just like in the medical eval. And so with that being said, we have an additional 1,900 on that line item for this year. But I think it's a smart move to keep that, since we got the two additional personnel coming up through for the academy to get through. And then at the end of the day, if they don't pass their site, then we're going to another candidate for a site. So I can't guarantee that if I hire people, that's only going to be two sites either. Right. So, and also added to that, car washes are into that, and so is the alcohol test calibrations. So we don't have an alcohol, the reason why we don't have an alcohol test, we're using the county's alcohol test, and I don't want to make this a long story on it, but we put forth several police departments going on the county alcohol test. Right now, our alcohol test failed like 4 years ago, and it wasn't worth it to replace the fuel cell, they call it, was about $2,000, and we knew a new one was coming out, right? So why spend the money? Well, case law, as you know, New Jersey takes forever to get through, so we're on another an extra 2 years on this new alcohol test unit, which we purchased moving forward, but we just haven't been able to take possession of it yet because there's the case law hasn't been set. When I got from the state police, should be in this year. Hopefully, they'll have the case law set for us. And so with that being said, there's probably some additional cost of that, but that's why. And with the car wash, little things going on with that. I don't even know if you want to get into the real guts of this, but one will be closing down next year, moving to another one, which is the additional cost. I figured there's going to be additional like 1,500 for the year. It should be an extra 500 for the year, which so I'd like to keep that the same. Clothing, which is going to be 232. No increase on that either. Keeping that the same. We have right now as today we had 1,500 still on the plus side of that account.
So on the clothing, you're gonna have recruits, and they're gonna need new uniforms once they're hired. So it's 5,000 with all that you have to do this year in replacement. That's to cover all that.
Yes, I'll go with that because I'll be good with that. Even with I think with the other items, if we're keeping the same, I think if we go over with that, we'll be able to incorporate that from another line item.
Just to go back, how many candidates are you sending to the academy this year total?
2.
Same time?
Hopefully not, no. I'm hopefully I can get one in prior, can't guarantee it, but the plan is prior. Hopefully I have one coming out when one's going in.
And how many candidates do you think you'll be screening to get to one person in the academy?
This year, I've gone through 30. And some of the reasons behind it, when we're hiring applicants, it's just if they're fully certified and they're coming to you, there's the person has a reason why they're leaving their job, and was it are they going to be a good fit here? I'll leave it at that. And I see, the ones that are available or the ones that are applying just haven't been a good fit for the city. And you have to be very careful. Again, this is, and you know that you have to be very careful because in the hiring not a good fit for the city. Very expensive area for that.
Thank you.
Let's go to, this is the easy one, 233, publication of books. We're up, we're on the positive side of that account, $137, keeping that the same. And that's a publication of books, meaning criminal law updates, and case law books that we get to, one for new Title 39 and 2C, and one for case law. Let's see, 234. So we're at a minus right now of $145 on that account. So in that 234 motor vehicle parts include light bulb, wipers, oil, antifreeze, vehicle batteries to replace it for a year. Vehicle tires is the big one. So out of that, we only made one purchase this year, and that was a minimal purchase. As soon as I had to get snow tires. So for me, we won't have any, but I can be prepared for it. So, meaning the tires. So anyway, so I made a minimal purchase. We have no extra tires on stock at all. So that's why I asked for the increase on the vehicle tires. The vehicle, parts, because that includes the tires. So on that one, it was a 234 line. So it's currently the 2024 appropriations of 1,500. I'm asking for 2,000. Total. So under 235 janitorial supplies. So keeping that the same as 2024 appropriations was 500. And same request for 2,000. Office supplies, 236. Again, it's pretty, that's an easy one too. Not asking for any increase in that either, and including with that paper, office supplies, paper supplies, no parking sign, pen, staple, DVD for the discovery request. And we have an antivirus comes out of there, and some of the MPT repair software, any software for that. That also includes the I've been trying to taking your advice, Michael, instead of using the bonding for it, we're replacing some computers in headquarters at a slow rate, like 1 or 2 a year, instead of buying bulk out of our budget. I know it's technical, it's all budget thing, but I had a plus of 608 this year. And the reason why I try to explain, I have a city put your fingers in here. So I got a processor, right, the Windows 97 computer that I was ready to replace this year. However, I'm not. My concern was filling the overtime shifts, right? So I wanted to make sure that my budget wasn't going to go over as a whole, you know. So again, some of these things where we saw a plus in the line items, it's because I wanted to keep the first priority of covering the shifts. So moving on to 242. 242 is going to be the education and training. So we have a plus in that account of 255. So so the education and training is not a difficult one, but it's going to be changing next year. So the PTC, again, in their licensing requirements, are requiring us, every uniformed officer to complete ground tackling or defensive tactics training. That's 4 hours for each officer. That will be, again, that's overtime because I don't get somebody off the road to do that. We're going to be somewhere in the county, or I'll be sending somebody to a class to be an instructor on that. But that's moving forward. That's going to be an every year requirement, just like firearms. So that's something that we got to look at. So on the 242 line, is training. So right now we're set at, for 2024 appropriations of 2,000. So I'm looking at 5,500. That also includes the additional cost of the academy, sending the 2 guys to the academy. So rolling that all in one. There's no extra requirement. We're taking the 5,500, which will also include the academy, the applicant, or the 2 individuals within the academy, and the increased training for the ground tackling or defensive tactics.
Lieutenant Brown, is the increased training because the officers now every year have to be licensed?
Correct. So it's so the year it's 4-year licensing. I believe 4-year licensing process. 3-year licensing process. So we don't get to pick who gets licensed when or what year. The PTC actually does not pick for it. So they pick percentage of the department each year for that licensing. And with that licensing result, it goes a complete whole background check for the officer. Like for this year, we have 3 officers that are up for the licensing renewal. As a whole complete so I'm now taking an officer out, complete background check on that officer. But part of that requirement is also that they meet the PTC guidelines for now this defensive tactics every year. They met the requirements for our firearms. They met the requirement for the mandatory training. You'll see in the monthly report coming out this month, you'll see MATS, it's mandatory agency training, that includes use of force, defensive, use of force, pursuits, domestic violence. So that training occurs twice a year. So, and that's in-person training in a classroom setting. And usually, currently it's done by right now, the prosecutor's office is overseeing that. And so we don't have to bring an instructor for that. So it's right now, the lieutenant right now for that. And I want to make note for when we're talking about upgrading computers, and we talked about this, I think last year, for the in-car computers, we call them MPTs, mobile data terminals. Prior to me taking over, we were not upgrading the cameras, the computers in the car, so we were in the default deficit of, for some of the computers we even had, our Windows 98 that were running in there. So now we're up to date with that, we're doing a vehicle purchasing, it's better to do it ahead of time than going in and replace them all at one time, right? So I, sorry about that, so I was just about that, about what I did on
So you update your NVRs when you buy it?
the MVRs as well, that's the in-car camera system. I found that was very beneficial to us, because at the end of the day, in 5 years, when we get to that point of, if we kept the same cameras and just transferred over, we would be looking at the additional $100,000 to meet the cloud-based system, and, so they have it there as well.
Anyone have any questions on OE?
So, that's right, we have 225, I'll move back quick, these are easy. 224, we have for our professional association dues, we're a deficit of $75. The Chiefs Association increased their rate. And also, we got to do for this year, we have an increase on that one, because we also have to do the OEM Association, Office of Mercy Management Association. They have a seminar coming, they do it once a year. The OEM coordinator needs 24 CU credits. And you just attending the class or the association meeting, you get 12 credits for that. So that's something I need to add into it for this year. So that's why I asked for the increase on the association dues from 200 to 700. That's on line item 244. It is what these are what they are. So we have 258 is a major, is a big one, because 258, the line item is other equipment. That's where all our meter repairs come out of. So we got meter batteries, meter screens, meter calibrations, coin car repair, meter programming, ammo, range supplies, coin counter. But that's where coin counter repair. We had one repair, even though we have a coin counter. Just because it's just the service for maintenance that it breaks, and we put a lot of points through for the year. And we also had that line on, we also we'll also do a program at the school for Halloween.
The meters, take points and use credit cards,
Correct, our mobile and.
Mark Mobile, right? And are people still using coins at the same level as?
We've seen a major increase in Park Mobile, and in my monthly reports, it displays what the coin counts are. And I don't have my monthly reports sitting in front of me, the total coin, bring up, or somebody bring
I
up the.
think the last deposit that I got this week was, because it's weekly, was like $2,500
In coins.
in coins.
So I can tell you right now, in coins in October, we took in $15,237 for the month of October. The month of October in particular, as I noted, was our highest month ever for parking revenues. $43,000 was in Park Mobile. So, we're looking at typically around a third in coins every month.
We
Just
get
about.
phone calls from people asking about our meters, and they, you have a generation that really likes to use the coin.
That's great. This increase of $3,000, between
So-
other equipment, would you attribute that to any one particular
Yes.
category?
Gonna be meter repairs. The reason why is because they actually, because also the packaging and cost, postage cost, they also doubled the price for the repairs for Canada, right from that, because now we're going back right to the manufacturer where the meters were made and not using a third party repair individual that we were using in North Jersey. So, think about it, I only have, so we had an extra 19 meters that we've been using throughout the year. I have $198 left in that account. So we didn't, we're missing at least two or three, meter repairs that we would have sent out that we were able to save by the 19 meters. So, and screens need to be replaced they are going to replace the screens as they can. So there's a lot of maintenance on these meters, they're getting older and older every day. And I don't have any easy answer for you on that one either.
They were used when we purchased them.
So is it likely though that the current inventory meters will function through 2025, given this plan?
Right. Yes.
Okay, but how sustainable?
Well, something that I think we're in conversation with, as we are speaking right now, where we have conversations going on right now. And moving forward, how the city decides, the city administration decides how they want to proceed. They want to proceed with meters, to have that conversation, or just with kiosks, right? Or to proceed with Park Mobile. So these are bigger conversations that the administration,
Well, but you're a little further ahead of the question. These meters, how sustainable?
they are good for, no, we can sustain them we can continue to repair these for the next year, for the next upcoming year, right?
How about in 26?
I would say we gotta do something, we gotta move forward next year or something, or have a plan. Not even to say that by 26, I would say, I can't sit here and say, the meters aren't currently be able to repair, or repair costs continue to go up. So do we want to spend that? Does it,
So
Americans want to do that?
it seems that for the third of coins, you've got to have a conversation about maintaining some type of mechanical meters, and just for the moment. Are there other meter companies in the country, or are we solely stuck with one provider?
Just one provider with the meters that we have, there's other meters. When we're down at we'll be down in Lee next year, or next week, and we'll see that. I mean, there's other meter companies out there. Gettysburg, PA just replaced all new digital meters, right? But they're all brand new. So there's other companies, but not the ones that repair the ones we have. So I can't send my meters. Apparently, this is something they stick with repairing the real meters. They can't, unless you have a third party provider, that's when they repair. That's what we've had for years. But there's no third party provider to do the repairs on the
Have you
meters.
replaced any meters recently? We've just replaced them because they're unrepairable?
No, they can repair.
Repair,
At a
so,
cost, for a cost, Michael, anything can be fixed.
well, I see that, from 7 to 10, I see that. But if we had to replace these mechanical meters, do you have another vendor in mind to keep?
Absolutely, we were in additional conversations and, getting the cost together, and I think a bigger picture of having a conversation, maybe the mayor didn't even speak on this, but we are having conversations on this, and he's spoken about this at the council meetings as well.
Yeah, I just, for the record, I think this will be something that we'll have to make a decision on for 26. There's a variety of products out there. Princeton has a meter that will take your credit card and coins, I think. So, it's just a question of how we want to proceed at some point.
We last replaced them in 2010 and they were used then. We investigated several different venues. There's so many products out there. But a lot of them pull from the internet, and when you're wireless and you have so many trees, they're not always effective. So, there's a lot to really be investigated, and the league is a great, source. So.
All right, thank you. All right, let's go to, last page. We are coming to the end of the hour, so
You want to make it quick, is that what you're saying?
I don't know that we could, I appreciate it.
Succinct.
You just want to get the one.
Succinct.
Yes, so 2025 purchases, right? So we had a vehicle, patrol vehicle, Ford Explorer, an engine, went on that engine, needed engine replacement. So it's been out of service for approximately 3 months now. Knowing that as tight as the budget is, listen, I had discussions with the mayor on this, and they're gonna hold off until January, for their engine replacement or engine repairs. So that definitely needs to be done in January. So I don't have vehicles that run 24 hours a day. I think it's just, it's not sustainable without that.
And can we just do a quick tally, just so that I can update my records? How many vehicles are in your fleet? And just like we did with the vacancies and the replacement, right, so you have a vehicle plan. So how many in your fleet, what's your plan for 2025?
So we're now at 9. And so we have a 6-year vehicle plan, and that was initiated before I even came here. So we're on the vehicles for at least 6 years. Most of them are longer, and 11 years. So the oldest vehicle that we have right now is the 2011. So we're getting everything that we can get out of these vehicles to try to. So I can go through do you want me to go through a list?
No, I just want to know how
Okay.
many of the 9 vehicles.
So primary, so, go ahead.
You have 9 vehicles in operation. The one that you need to change the engine out of, is that one of the 9?
That's correct. That's gonna be one of out of the 9 vehicles, 5 are primary patrol vehicles. And that's one of the primary patrol vehicles. If you take one out of that 5, then you're down to 4. Now that 5th vehicle that you need to utilize, now you're taking one of the other vehicles running 24 hours a day.
So then that vehicle gets back on the road in 2025, so you have 9 vehicles. You purchase a new vehicle that arrives in 2025. Do you now have 10 vehicles, or is one going to get liquidated?
So I'm liquidating the one vehicle, which is right now, it's one of the unmarked vehicles. We'll name the vehicle we're using from their, some, undercover work. So we're gonna keep that unnamed, but we're gonna turn that over to the city with this. And I think, I think the conversation we've been having, and I think we're in agreement, if we need to utilize it for, services, I'll be able to utilize it for whatever services that we need throughout the year. It's not being run every day, but the city's looking, if they need a vehicle, additional vehicle to utilize. So I think we've come to an agreement on that. So that's where that
So
vehicle's
you
going.
stay with 9 in your fleet, and I guess DPW would net the plus 1 vehicle, and they would have to maintain it.
No,
No?
I will be a construction, potentially for the construction code official.
Which department would maintain it?
I have no idea.
It's the first time that we would have a vehicle.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it. It's not a heavy lift for the maintenance of the vehicles. If we're sharing it.
Thank you, let's go on, that's all I wanted to hear, so.
If we're gonna share it, if this conversation in agreement, we're.
Alright, so 10 vehicles in the police department, that's right, why?
All right. Okay, so, moving down, so we have a new vehicle cost in here for new vehicles sometime, in 2025. We've made a commitment to, the administration's made a commitment to, with a new vehicle, making a hybrid. So that increased the cost a little bit, and so that's purchased, it's off the state bid to 81,657. But we're moving from a gas engine into a hybrid. And doing a little bit more in researching, there's only one vehicle that's full electric car for a police vehicle, and that's a Ford pickup truck, a little too big for, I know the department would like to have the pickup because of throwing schools and barricades. I just feel it's a little bit too big as the vehicle to be driven for every day for patrol. But that's a fully electric vehicle. So we didn't really, the next thing down to the electric vehicle, or the closest thing to the vehicle, is a hybrid, which is made by Ford, which is a police utility vehicle, which is an Explorer. Dodge currently does not make a hybrid or an electric. So right now, Dodge makes the Durango, which we purchased, and it was a little cheaper for the purchase of this year, 2024, we purchased a Dodge Durango. It was I think the cost was like $4,000 cheaper than the Ford. But at any cost, Dodge doesn't make an electric vehicle for next year.
So in the best practices guide, there's always a question regarding consideration of purchasing hybrid electric vehicles. And I think it's very smart that the city's contemplated that. And there's a police qualified vehicle that we could use, that's great.
And, yeah, I like to see how, and again, since it's a hybrid, we're not dedicated, at this point, we all know that in Lambertville, we're kind of the shortfall for charging stations, right? So, we're not relying on a charging station either, but I'm looking at the specs, you're getting, right now, you might be getting 10 miles to a gallon for a police vehicle. Now you're moving up maybe to 40. These are just approximate numbers per gallon per gas. So there's some savings there with gas as well.
It'll help us with sustainable Jersey points as well.
So next thing, this is a difficult conversation to have, but we have a body worn camera system and an NVR system. So the NVR system is a mobile camera car system, the cameras that are inside the cars. Right now, we're on a server, the in-house server at the police station. Video for the body worn cameras and for the cars get all downloaded to this server at police headquarters. Server is approximately 4 years old.
This was originally came from Grant.
Right, that's where I'm going with this. Yeah, so all the body worn cameras and the server were bought on a grant. We just finished up purchasing our last body worn camera on that grant because the grant has to be used up in a certain amount of time frame. So we just made that purchase. Anyway, so we have the body worn cameras and the car cameras. We utilize a company called Safe Fleet. It's L3. It's a COVID product. There's two other major camera companies out there that New Jersey use, WatchGuard and Axion. I think Axion is the other one. The issue is we've got quote from Axion and L3, but the problem is it's just the way it is. The car cameras all operate off of L3 and safely, and so if we switch body worn cameras, that would work, because then we gotta have two systems that we have to maintain with double the cost. So they kind of have you, whatever company you have, you pretty much stay with, because it's cheaper to go with that. Because you're not replacing the car cameras, only the cars are being replaced. It's the body worn cameras that, because they're being used every day. The body worn cameras right now that we replace overall in that grant are just over 2 years old, going on 3 years. The battery, we've sent 2 back already for the batteries replaced because they're internal batteries. So that moving forward, that you see that happen. So the company now stopped any moving forward for 2025, February 2025, is stopping all services that utilize the server, in-house servers. So we can no support for the warranties and the licenses. They're no longer issuing no licensing. So with that being said, each body worn camera, each NVR in the car has a license that we have to purchase every year. And with that license, what really comes with it, we can make a connection to our server. Does that make any sense? But we pay a license to connect to our own server. That's how all the companies work. Doesn't make sense to me, but that's how it works. So the company 2025 is no longer supporting that, and they're moving to all cloud. It's all cloud based. So we lucked out the last 3. I think our company is the last company that is switching to cloud based. So we've held off on this upgrade moving forward. So their contract for the body worn camera moving to the cloud based, which includes the licensing fees and the warranties on the cameras, they do it for 5 years. The 5-year contract for $60,082. With that being said, they replace in 2 years. They replace cameras. We get cameras at no cost. And so I think one of the questions is a leasing or is it buying? So it's a buying option. There is no leasing because they aren't replacing the cameras in 2 years. So you could say it could be a leasing program, but we own the product. So is it really a leasing? I think it's interpretation of how you read the contract. They are replacing the cameras in 2 years. But we do own the cameras ourselves. So if we opt out, same as right now, we own the cameras, even though we have a license and stuff. So, but anyway, so for the 5 years, it's $60,000. Now they're willing to break that up, pay a yearly fee, the yearly payment, or do a one lump sum. for 5 years. So that's a decision that I think, whatever, I have no feelings on either way, whatever is best suited for the city of Lambertville. But we really don't have any options. Well, I could sit here and give you additional options for this, and say, hey, we could stick with what we have and it won't cost us the $60,000. I don't have any other option to meet the Attorney General guidelines to keeping the cameras. We do have one option, and I don't recommend that, and then talking to the administration, is removing cameras from the cars. That's not, to me, that's not an option in the times that we live in now. Policing is guided going a certain way, and removing cameras from the cars just to save us, additional, money.
Yeah, I think given the standard of policing, this has to be a regular consideration in our budget going forward.
And most of that,
The grant gone.
right, and most of that cost is the cameras, it's not the MVRs. If we're incorporating the MVR costs, the car camera cost into the vehicle bond. So that isn't really at the end, it's like $150 if you look at the contract for each car, like, renewal each year for licensing for the cars.
Christie, are there any restrictions regarding leasing that we have to think about these types of products?
That I'm aware of.
Okay.
But Lieutenant, I did have a question for you. Is there a difference in price between, buying them in the first year and spreading it out in 5 years?
No, we're not adding any additional cost to us for that.
Because I know sometimes some of these companies, they'll give you a discount if you pay it all in one lump sum as opposed to spreading it out over 5 years.
No discount,
No discount.
no discount. I assume that ways, I can only assume this, if we decided, there's no extra cost either to making payments either throughout the year, so they're eating the cost, throughout the 5 years. If we did, instead of charging for one lump sum, they're not charging anything extra to make payments each year either.
So it's 5 years. So that would be, if we were to purchase them based on this payment plan they're offering, that would be 15,000 a year.
It's 15 for the first year because the docking stations need to be purchased for that's what goes to the internet. So it's 15,000 the first year and then 11,000, whatever I gave you that quote. 11,000 after that each year. So it's 15 for first year and then, 11,000 after that.
Okay. That, and if we were to purchase them out, and the licensing is included in that pricing?
Correct.
For 5 years.
Yes, and any warranty on the cameras repairs as well is included.
What about wear and tear, like, taps on the ground, camera breaks, is that included?
That's included.
That's fantastic.
Total replacement.
Then at the end of 5 years, you start again, technology changes.
Correct.
But within these 5 years, the solution's complete.
Right, and in 2 years, we're getting a camera replaced, new cameras, all the cameras.
As part of this program.
Correct. Yes.
Ag alarm.
So we kicked this can down the road again, for this year. We had that, we talked about that at the last budget, last year about it. So we had a DOC inspection, and we talk about this, every 2 years, because that's when DOC comes and does their inspections. So, we have a deficiency in in our Sally Port area, we have the panic alarms. We did integrate a camera system, but, we don't have panic alarms and no, interlock system for the doors. So we've been kicking it down, again, if you can afford it, that's great. If not, we have, so we got the violations, but we're deficiency of, that DOC. With that being said, there's no additional, I want to say penalties for us to be deficient in that. It's just a report that they do. The inspections required by law that they do it. And
So the cameras are the vendor, is the alarm, the camera the same vendor?
they would not, it'd be hooked into Hollycon, because we have currently our system is Hollycon at headquarters. So that would be tied into panic alarms, looking at, the wireless systems, either to do 2 wireless panic alarms, and then we have the camera system installer also would do the key fob blocks at HQ. Very happy with the camera system that we have at HQ. They've been very responsive for that. Being said, so the panic alarm will be tied into our current alarm system we have at headquarters, and the door door locks, by the vendor that installed the camera system at headquarters. That's if you decide to move forward with it.
Great.
That's all I have.
Great.
Well,
Anyone have any questions? Questions?
Yes, sir.
Another thorough presentation, thank you very much.
Thank you. I just have to say, I want to say that and I think I was talking to Ryan, right? Beforehand. So I had one day before you sent out the spreadsheets in Excel. I had done the new spreadsheet, for myself, but it was very helpful for me. It was very helpful that in addition to that new spreadsheet that you sent out where we could add our own numbers into that spreadsheet. To me, that was helpful than doing the worksheet that you usually send out or some type of Google worksheet saying, okay, what do you need this year? But I think that put it together a little bit better with the Excel sheet.
Thank you for the feedback. All right.
We'll move on. Can I ask a question about lunch? Lunch is
Yes.
Okay, you guys should want, stick with kind of pizzas.
I'm done with anything.
Okay, I'm gonna get pizzas and a couple of salads and we'll bring the drinks. Okay.
See that?
Okay, so we can
Where you go, stop that.
What did you say?
If you were here for lunch, we have a sergeant.
We worked through lunch. That's how we've been.
There it is. All right, we'll make sure that goes in the PDA.
Lunch?
You work through lunch?
Come on, we'll do that for you. Oh, it's the budget committee, well, they work.
If you want to come back for lunch.
No, no.
Yeah.
I have to go.
Okay.
Happy.
You serious?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a meeting. You okay?
Does anyone need a 3 or 4 minute break before we start?
I'm good.
Okay. Why don't you come on up, get settled, and we'll take a 3-minute break.
I found probable cause. She's stuck.
You still talking about?
I'm gonna be quick, you can have a break after meeting.
I don't know how you say that. You always manage to smile. I think that's fine. All right.
I'll be 52 days, I promise. What? Oh my God, I gave you my ticket. I'm like, oh, but I need a photo ID.
Just, you know.
Whatever is needed.
So funny. Underneath the house. Well, when I got this back from Joel, it just came through right now. How am I supposed to?
I got that.
You did before, I thought you were in uniform on the street working that, I met you. You're in chat,
You can't read it.
You've never.
No.
Sure.
Did not.
Where did this come from?
That way you could probably-
The kids are right there. Instead of looking at them.
I'll leave. Good one.
All right, thanks.
This came yesterday. It didn't, it just came through right now. Yeah, and I really find this budget. Cause I don't need this much, I only need this much, and that even includes a 5,000. Okay, yeah, that's what I just said in history. That's what I said in history. So this, the judges make me 15, and if I add 3,000, then I add 5,000 to me, right? That comes to 89,300. If I keep 5,000 reserved in case I need a part timer or something, and that's 94,300, so I'm saving 2,200.
Someone's actually here.
Well. Thank you.
He absolutely loved it. Oh, I know. You know what?
Yeah.
There were so many wonderful opportunities by that.
Yeah,
I mean, she's got her doctorate
Yeah.
in education now, but
and there,
she.
yeah.
Walk to places, you know?
Yeah.
You don't need a car. There's a lot of unknown hidden benefits in that.
Yeah.
Okay, ready to go?
I'm ready.
Let's unmute.
Just 1 minute, please, for some reason,
Yeah.
nothing happened. Then go back to the, okay, we're good, thank you.
All right, your microphone is still ready. Go.
All right, let's continue. If you don't mind introducing yourself and what you do for the city, please, this is the recorded session.
I'm Catherine McLaren. I'm the court administrator.
If you could just pull the microphone a little closer to you. Thank you very much. You're gonna have enjoyed hearing your voice through this, so. Oh, is it? Okay. All right, so we'll move through first salary and wages, then we'll go to OE, and then we'll finish with any capital requests. So if you would like to take us through, you have your budget worksheet. If you would like to give us the account number when you talk about the last 3 digits and then a little quick description, so we're all on the same page, and then take us through it. Or I can ask you, whatever's easier.
You asked me, I don't have last 2 digits.
Okay.
Julie?
Last 3 digits of this year.
Before
Last 3.
000?
Well, that's the first one, right, but then you go to 100, your salary and wage line. So,
Is it not?
It doesn't say that.
There's 100. 401.
Sorry, my bad.
That's
okay.
other numbers now.
Okay, 100.
All right, we'll start with 100. So I'll just go through the document, we can all have a conversation. So in 2024, there was appropriated $96,501. What was actually spent was $74,575. And this year, there's a request for $98,000.
I'm lowering that.
Okay,
I want to request 94.3. We saved $15,000 from not having a part-timer.
mhm,
And I did a comparison for the West Amwell Municipal Court Administrator. And I would be requesting a $5,000 increase due to my increase in workload and an extra $3,000 for the judge. That would come out to 89.3 if we kept a reserve of 5,000 for, say, any kind of an emergency need to get somebody part-time. Just to cover if I'm out, that would come to 94.3, so you would be saving 2,200.
so let's just break that down slowly, please. I heard everything you said. So you actually spent 74,575. What was budgeted was 96. And so that less than 20,000 was a part-timer that did not get hired. Did I understand?
She
that
quit
correct? She quit?
Yeah.
She worked for a portion of the year.
till June,
Okay, and
Well-
you're,
till the end of May.
okay, half a year or so, and you don't intend in 2025 to replace that person?
No,
Okay, so you're going to reduce one part-time person. Regarding the increases requested by you and the judge,
correct?
my recommendation is that you, if you have not done so already, you put that memo to the mayor,
Okay,
and with all the justifications of what the requests are.
okay.
So this $94,300 includes how much of the requested increases for salary?
In total?
Mhm.
8 in total.
8 in total, and that was 2,000 for the judge,
3,
3,000 for the judge, and that was 5,000 for you.
correct.
All right, so for our intent purposes, if we reduce that number by 8,000, that would bring us to. And we could jump out, but I'm not gonna. guess.
Oh, and then that would be with the 5,000 reserve in case I'm out, if I have to have a surgery or whatever, you know, just to have in there for emergency.
So you would have a part-timer at that point?
No, just to have it in the budget in case
Oh, so what would happen if you go out? What kind of coverage would you have if you go out?
we would have to hire a part-time person. I would say I would only need a Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 5 hours a day. So it would be well under, it would be under 5,000. I just want to have a cushion, God forbid.
Okay, so then we're following that, then we would not eliminate the part-time person. We would bring that part-time person down to $5,000 and fund it, and then at the end of the year, if you don't hire the person, you don't hire the person.
Yeah, it would just be for an emergency purposes. I'm
I
not
understand.
hiring, yeah.
You would have.
I would have,
part-timer
say,
that's-
a retired court administrator cover and pay her.
Right, so you'd have to hire somebody, they'd have to go on the
Oh,
payroll,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, all right, so 5,000 for that, plus the 8,000, so,
No,
Am I missing that wrong?
no.
okay. So, if we should adjust our note here, that would be 5,000 for a part-timer, then reduce the before by 8.
It would come to 94,300.
That I have.
Mhm.
All right, so the salary would be. You take out the proposed raises of 8,000,
Correct?
that brings it down to 86,300. And then if, that would be inclusive of one full-timer and one part-timer. Do I have that right?
If you reduce the salary increases for the judge and I, which is 8,000, it would bring it down to 81,300.
I did 94,300 minus 8,000, I got 86,000.
Oh, that's with the 5,000 reserve for the,
So let me just go through again one more time. So we have 94,300, we're reducing 3,000 for the judge, we're reducing 5,000 for you. So that you'll put those requests in the memo to the mayor. Then
bring it down to 86.
bring 86,300. Now, in that 86,300 is one full-timer, you,
Mhm.
and one part-timer for 5,000. That number is,
Potentially.
And the judge.
and the judge. So 86 is one full-time, one part-time, and one judge. Okay. We have the, what's the vacancy now, or what's? For the part-timer, do you know what we budgeted for the part-timer?
15.
15,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
She was an hourly employee, so it was just calculated by the number of hours estimated need times the pay rate.
Okay. Great. All right, anything else on salary and wages? Anyone have any questions? Let's go on. Okay, postage. So postage, 2,100 was budgeted, 1,498 was spent. You're reducing your ask this year to $2,000. Any reason why you think that you would get the 2,000 ability spent, 1,498? Is there more to go out this year that maybe we didn't account for?
There is more that goes out. They opened up the proposed suspensions. The state is taking over some of our notices and postage. And I believe they will be billing the municipalities this year. I have no idea how much. It's kind of not really explained to us yet. But a lot of our notices now go out through a central location in Trent. And that's throughout the whole entire state. So they'll start billing the municipality for their supplies and postage. And I don't know when that's happening.
Okay. Printing and binding,
What was the requested amount? I'm sorry.
2,000.
2,000. Okay, thank you.
Printing and binding. Appropriated 1,250 last year, actually spent 738, we're reducing the appropriation by $250. Anything to share? discuss?
Reducing that, we don't do as many, traffic tickets. Most of them were done through for the parking. However, now we have the electronic parking, so I could reduce that.
All right, cleaning and materials, so we appropriated 950, actual spend was 699.60. To raising it by $50, your request. Is there a reason?
I don't handle that.
Okay. Says Alagon Security.
Oh, yeah. Would that be something that should go to buildings and grounds? It's the security system for the building.
We've been paying it out of this budget until now. Okay, we'll make a note to look at that in our overall discussion afterwards. So that's 224. Security. 1,000. Question. Okay. Professional consultant and specialized services. Appropriated 2825, spent 1925. You're holding your appropriation the same. Didn't spend it all last year. Any reason?
Well, this only goes up to October, right?
About, yeah.
Yeah. So if we have a lot more interpreter needs. The judge likes to have an in-person interpreter, which is more expensive. If I have one every month, besides having to call in language line for, say, a Georgian interpreter or something other than Spanish, I believe that's a good amount of money to have in that budget line.
Okay.
Staying the same or increasing?
They're the same.
Stay the same. Did you happen to put your conferences in for the rest of the year?
What?
Did you put in the system that you would need that money for the rest of the year?
We just got a
I
new
did-
invoice, yes.
Okay.
Do you have court next month?
I do with the in-person interpreter.
Okay, so that has not been encumbered yet.
Okay. All right, books and publications, you didn't spend anything there last year. You look at the whole at 500, what do you expect to spend this year?
I don't have that on my list.
We didn't have a
We
budget
didn't, we
last
didn't
year.
have anything there.
500 was in 23, 24 was 0.
Okay, so she doesn't see that then.
No.
Okay.
Kathy, didn't you have to order books?
I have to
Case
order
books?
one book, the statute, the criminal statute and the traffic.
That's
That's
about
$500.
There it is. Okay, thank you. All right, going to computers, office and supplies. Budgeted 1,000, spent 905, requesting 1,000 this year. What do you usually use that category for?
Office supplies, ribbon.
General office supplies,
Yeah.
okay. I just, when I see the word computer supplies, I make sure that you got what you need there, we have to talk about that,
Mhm.
okay? Meetings, conferences and meetings, 241. Appropriated 350, actually spent $65, and you're requesting $1,000, it's a $650 increase, what is your expectation there?
Well, 350 doesn't, I need to go to the league. And that doesn't even cover a hotel. Besides the classes, I have to pay for the classes. So next year I have to keep up with my CECs.
Mhm.
So I couldn't go this year. I didn't have enough money in that budget. So I would like to go next year. And that would be a good amount for me to be able to attend.
And just on background, the CECs are required if you in your certification.
Correct.
licenses.
Mhm.
Professional association dues. Seems like last year you didn't spend it all, $100. How many people are?
Just me, you could bring that back to, I would leave that. I don't know if that, I have to be part of different, court administrator associations.
Mhm.
And I have no idea if that price is gonna go up. So I would leave that,
Last year, that was for the tri-county.
yeah.
All right, looking at travel, we have a $200 budget. You didn't use it last year. Can you just talk about how this category travel would be different than your conference and meetings in your mind?
Well, that's for mileage.
Okay,
And I didn't realize that I had that. I did go to a meeting, yeah, no big deal. But if I go down to Atlantic City, that would go towards the mileage.
Do you have other meetings that you participate in county, et cetera?
I do, there's one meeting one Friday a month for our vicinage.
All right, safety equipment and supplies, zero, you may not have in your sheet. Computer data processing equipment, 150 is the line. Spent, last year you had 100, spent 162, this year requesting 150. What's in that number?
That was they had to come out and fix my fax machine, and that's the line that we put it in.
Right.
Invoice.
Okay. All right, do you have any capital requests?
No,
Great answer. All right. Anything else? Any questions from the team?
no,
Anything else you'd like to add?
no, just the salary increase, I have to send a memo to the mayor.
Yes, please. All right, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For all intents and purposes, let's reduce that number down to these three, and then at the middle factor, it's a 3,000 for the judge. And a 5,000 for the administrator. We also need to note that there's a $5,000 vacancy.
Right. One of our all-star, superstar.
Not an all-star. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Okay, so we'll start with line 100, which is S&W. And this year, we're requesting a 2.5% increase, but it's not an increase across the board. It's because I'm trying to account for some overtime, expected overtime for next year, and it's for technology purposes. You know, cybersecurity is really ramping up, and that's really something that is in my assistant's purview in her job description. And so I foresee her having to she spends an awful lot of time now, but, you know, trying to make sure that we're compliant, so we get our appropriate coverage from the insurance company, making sure all the computers are, you know, all the malware and everything is up to date. But that's a small portion of this. Really the biggest portion is landlord registration and short-term registration. It requires an awful lot of programming on SDL as well as tracking, and you've got the lead paint that she's got to track, and also we have to make sure that we now get a certificate of insurance for each one of our properties. We have about 280 that are registered. I actually expect that we probably have more properties. So really want to ramp that up and make sure that, you know, we're covered. We also have short-term rentals. We only have about 50 right now. I don't expect that to grow much because the ordinance is pretty restrictive. You have to be owner occupied. But that too requires the same thing. Your lead paint certification, it requires certificate of insurance, and it also requires that she spend an awful lot of time programming with SDL, not just for those two things, but for the clerk's office and for the other units who use SDL. If the form has to be changed, she has to be the one to do it. So right now, she's been putting in an awful lot of time and either taking comp time or not getting paid for it. So I'd like to see her compensated. Also, when we go to trainings, Lindsay is in training to become certified as a municipal clerk. I'd like to have the opportunity to have coverage from our part-timer for when she may not be in the office. So the window's always covered.
You have a part-timer currently?
We do. So, who does 12 hours a week, but it floats, like sometimes she could do more. And so I just would like to have additional coverage at that window. You know, Michael, I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago, but a year ago, we decided we were going to do an accounts receivable clerk. And so share her with the tax office. And when the tax office isn't as busy, then she works for the clerk's office. And I would like to increase her responsibilities to get her onto SDL and to do some other things. but also to have the flexibility of having coverage. So that's the explanation for that line.
Can I have a questions before we
Yes,
do
you
salary
can.
wages? All right, so let's just get some.
Bless you.
Some facts on paper here for me. So there's currently 2 full-timers in this budget line.
Correct,
Okay,
and a portion of the part-time.
and there's a portion of the part-time allocated here in this number as well. So,
And I
yeah,
believe the other portion goes to the tax collector. No?
It's all,
No,
it's
it
all clerk.
Okay, because we had talked last year about splitting that
Mhm.
and some of that going to the tax,
Well-
so I guess that didn't happen.
but it's working in terms of where they are time-wise and allocation of tax.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the employee allocation, that's fine, it's just on the paper, it's all looks like.
That's kind of where I'm going here, yeah. So 1 full-time clerk, and what is Lindsay's title?
She is a deputy clerk
Deputy clerk,
and also technology, I think it says technology specialist,
okay, and then the part-timer is just a clerk, 1,
accounts receivable.
thank you, accounts receivable, okay. So if we were to, so the overtime that you're looking at
Mhm.
would be applied to, of course, the deputy clerk, would that also be applied to the accounts receivable person?
She wouldn't get overtime, but it would be an increase in hours.
How
Okay,
much were you looking to put in your budget for overtime?
For overtime, Christie, it's so hard to tell because we didn't track it for last year. Lindsay just, it's bad
so
time.
you projected 2.5%.
I did. I just took the budget, said 2.5%. Figured we split, if we increased it by that, we could draw from it for the accounts receivable and then for Lindsay's, projected overtime for landlord registration and technology.
So it's like, what, like $4,000? I can do the math quickly, if I took the 161, just to get a number on the page.
Yeah. You talk about comp time, flex time, but we really can't, if she takes that time, takes her away from duties, then that means the next week, you're really just kicking that can down the
That's
road.
$4,026, so we put 4,000 in the round number,
Yeah, that would be great.
and then Christie would probably have to add a line for overtime for this office. Budget prep. Okay. Line,
So I'm just making sure I'm clear. So it was a 2.5% increase on your employees, is that what you're requesting? And then,
Overall, it did within that structure, 2%.
right, and then the $4,000 overtime line item.
So I took the total, took 2.5%, thinking everybody would get a 2% raise. At
Okay.
0.5% would be for overtime and for extra use of the part-time.
so
Okay,
we're gonna
okay.
add overtime line of 4,000 should reduce your 161 by $4,000, put it to another line item.
Yeah.
So the only other thing. You just said that you were anticipating that there'd be a raise for across the board, everyone for 2.5,
2%,
2%.
yeah.
So the overtime of 4,000 is too high, right? Would
Yeah,
only
it's
be-
too high, so I'm
would
looking
only
at
be
this now.
5%, it would be
because-
4.5.
Yeah,
So let's look at that again.
yeah, look at the number again.
Let's go to what you, your 2024 appropriation for 157,3413.
Yes, that was just that 2%, and I guess it's the clerk, the deputy clerk, and the accounts receivable clerk.
So we would want to take a 0.5% increase on that number for the overtime. So let's, 157, 134. All right. 105. That would be 5%. No, but 005, 157, 134
Sorry,
times $785 would be the overtime.
so if we could put like 1,000 in
Okay. All right, so then that would mean that we would.
there. Sorry, Sid?
I'm wondering if that's gonna be enough, that's all I was asking. Because at time and a half, It's not a straight, an hourly rate, right? So, let me see something.
Is all overtime paid at time and a half?
Nobody gets overtime. Except DPW, and it's a time and a half in the police. That's it,
The DPW 40 hour, 35 hour employees?
40,
40, office bar 35 or 40?
32 and a half.
32 and a half, so not to split hairs, we'll talk about this later, but wouldn't the 32 and a half to 40 be paid at straight time, still overtime, but
I don't
not?
know if that's what our policy book says, I think.
I think it says anything over 40 hours is.
It does anything over 40, so anything in between
Yeah,
is a very gray area, and it just gets free. It's free time.
But you should be paid at straight time until 4.
yes,
So if I work, okay.
yes, that's what I'm looking for.
All right, I think it makes sense to start with $1,000 and to leave the salary and wage line at the 2024 number, anticipating that we're gonna have, if there's gonna be increases, that's all gonna happen to every department. We start with those increases in some and not others now,
Yeah,
so. So we should leave the requested amount for salary wages, 157, 134, add a line for overtime for $1,000 and make a note that whatever the decision.
so let's make a note that, yeah, that everybody will
Across
be
the board.
entitled to a 2%.
Yeah.
If, or whatever the governing body gave.
Right, because I don't think every department accounted for that, so.
Okay,
All right, so why don't we just make a standard note here that we will keep the salary and wages at the 24 rate and then have a separate step to increase whatever the increase for the year is.
sounds good.
All right,
So then the next line is 221, which is advertising. And
sorry,
it's-
so Christie, do I have, if I get that on my sheet, that's gonna take separate action, you go to admins, right? They had that line,
Yes.
okay, so I'll make a note of that, okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's okay. So the next line is 221, which is clerk advertising. We budgeted 5,000 last year. I'd like to leave that at 5,000. This is really a misnomer for next year. We have been notified that the Trenton Times and the Hunterdon County Democrat will no longer print their newspaper, beginning in February of next year. And so right now, we're kind of waiting on the legislation to make change. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that will mean for our rates, if they're going to go up or if they'll go down. And you know, advertising is always linked to, mostly to the ordinances that we adopt. Don't know what the plans are for next year, if that will increase. So at this point, I just would like to leave it the same.
What do you think the legislature's gonna do?
So I think that the legislatures will most likely make a change so that it allows for electronic print. But I don't know what the newspapers will then charge. They'll keep it the same because you're still going to need proof of service on certain things. Our auditors are really very good and allow me in most instances to do a proof of service. But we have to print our budget, we have to print the audit summary, and I always get a proof of service on those things. So I don't know, recently wrote a letter to them on the mayor's behalf requesting that they consider each municipality ability to put it on their website instead of paying for it. Because their constituents right now, in order to pay for access for the electronic newspaper, you have to be a member, you have to sign up for a membership fee. So by making it available through our website, it would make it more accessible to the public. So I don't look for them to do that though, but
Okay,
we'll see what happens.
thank you.
Sure. So the next line is 222, which is clerk postage and delivery charges. I believe within this, you'll see I went over, but a lot of that was landlord registration. But I also believe in this that I'm 100% charged for the rental of the postage machine. And that's used by all departments, including the court. So I think that, maybe that's another thing that we can consider going to buildings and grounds.
I would put that in admin services if we're gonna move it, the rental of both the copier and the postage machine. Each department's charged for the postage that they use, but
Yes,
the rental comes out of the clerk.
But I do think next year we should continue and keep it at 2,500 because, the landlord registration and the short-term rentals, they require an awful lot of, letters that go out, reminders that go out, certified mail that goes out for people who, have not registered. So, we actually have about 10, cases in court right now that we have a December 5th date. They're renting their property and they're not registered. So, I'd like to keep that at 2,500.
Before we leave that.
Yeah.
Sue, do you have an idea what those costs are? Or if you get me those costs at some point for the
Rentals?
leases, for the leases, yeah. And
I'll
then-
have them for you shortly.
Thank you, and then we can pull that out of this number and at least it'll deal with a real number here, and then we're just getting a usage number.
I might be able to give you that.
Would that be under the contractual items there?
Yeah, it's not in the postage line.
So, looking here, yeah, it looks like we pulled it out last year, but it still got charged against that line item.
So,
So,
Yeah.
which is one of the reasons why, if you look at 229,
Okay,
see the 3,000 got pulled out last year, but it still got charged there.
right.
So what I would recommend is maybe just leave it there, if that's where the charges are going to be. We didn't budget, but then it still got charged there, and then the clerk's line item went over.
These are only those two items in that line. The copier and the postage machine.
229, a copier lease, postage machine, copier, any overages for the copier machine, color prints?
So if we're gonna
Is
leave it
that-
there and that's where we're gonna charge it, then we should just budget for it accordingly if that's where it's getting charged. Cause we pulled it out last year, I probably with the same mindset and it still got charged against the clerk budget and then that line item went in the red.
and I don't mind that. I just want the public to know that's not all me.
But the 2,500 number then is not inclusive.
The,
of-
yeah,
that's
2,500 is just
Yeah,
the
that's-
postage for the clerk's office.
So
Okay.
that should stay at 2,500, especially because we're ramping up heavy on landlord.
All right, so that went back over twice, so then we're gonna leave that at 2,500, and then we're gonna adjust the 229 for $4,000, so that there's not the overage. And 4,000 is a lot more than 3,196. Well, there are probably two more payments left this year, so, okay. There has been, you talk about lead paint inspections, you talk, did those have corresponding revenues?
They did.
And they will?
Substantial. We charged $75 prior to this year, $75 to register, and went up to $250. So, that's quite a hefty increase. That increase in time for my office, increase in other fees, but, no benefits to employees.
Right, so this 2,500 has an offset
It does,
revenue that
absolutely.
came.
Yeah.
Right, and your office continues to handle these new initiatives, they're relatively new initiatives.
They are, well, no, I mean, they're not new. So,
The lead paint,
the lead paint is new, yes, and so we charge an additional $100 for that.
right,
But again, Lindsay's got to sign on to the state's website and update. We did just recently hire a vendor to help us with that, but she still has to then, instead of providing the state that information, she's got to provide it to the vendor to do. So, but it's a better
and
process.
the certificate insurance is new as well,
It is, that's correct.
and we're charging for that as well.
No, that's all part of the $250.
Okay,
But the lead paint separate.
okay, thank you.
But we've done landlord registration since 2007.
Right, you had a good program for that, okay.
As far as those revenues, they're just going in with the landlord registration line for all of it. The late fees, the landlord registration, the late fees and the lead serve fees. They're all being dumped in one line under landlord.
Those lead fees this year will probably be much more than next year, right? It was a. one
Right, because
year.
it's a 2-year cycle for the
Right.
lead certificates, I
So let's
believe.
just make it enough to review the revenue that we don't overstate that.
Right, and then this year, the other thing too is, we implemented a late fee. So if you don't register by April 1, it's $100 more. If you don't do it by June 1, it's an additional $100, July 1, another $100. You may not see that in 25. I'm hoping we won't see that.
Okay,
So the next line is 223, which is printing and binding. We just ordered our, Title 40 and then, our land use, so, I'd like to leave it at 1,500 though, because we have a lot of new people coming in. When I talk about new people, I really mean new board members, who may need that as a reference. And I don't want to give my copy out.
all right, just jump through 224, thinking means buildings is been 0, 225 means the vehicles have been 0. 226 means about equipment is 0. So we go now to 227 legal services.
Right, and I haven't used anything this year, but I'd like to carry forward the $1,000 for next year.
Just typical use of this, because it hasn't been used, but what would you use?
So that would be like if I had an Oprah issue, and then I needed to contact the attorney, or a licensing issue. And, you know, we still have, a couple, you know, I've got 10 cases in court for landlord this year. But that doesn't mean that I won't need to have an attorney represent us for any of those. So, you know, if anything associated with licensing or registration for the clerk's office.
All right, professional service consultant.
So, I've not used this, but, I'd like to carry that forward. I think that that's probably, if I needed anything, help with ordinances, things along those lines. Right now, we've been doing things that are pretty generic. But,
What's a typical vendor that would be in this line, that would be legal services?
so, Bill would be our city attorney that we would contact, you know, anything with a specialized, focus.
The contractuals we discussed, books and publications. How's that different than the, okay, so they're combined,
Printing and binding, I'm sorry, that would probably be printing and binding of any ordinances or zoning ordinances that we have.
okay,
So that they are two separate lines that mix them up.
so 223 would be books you referenced earlier. Okay,
The printing and binding is the note cards and, excuse me, the letterhead.
Yeah.
Business cards, envelopes, that's what's in there.
But also, sometimes we get printing from general code. So when we do that, that's what that should be registered.
all right,
Does the general code have its own line? Yeah.
Yeah, but that's online. So they update their website, they update the online more frequently than we get the print.
So that doesn't fall under codification of ordinances?
I don't know where you would charge it. You could charge it there, but you may charge it to the other line too.
That's where all the general code invoices have come out of so far. Is the codification.
okay, I'm sorry, I got a little lost. So, Sue, can you summarize what you're saying, please?
The codification from general code, the invoices,
Okay,
it has its own standalone line within the clerk's budget. It's line 300. So the printing and binding or ordinances or whatever has been charged to that 300 line.
it seems that these things are all just regular course of operations and they get charged differently throughout the year, but at the end, you kind of net out.
And the printing and binding is just the letterhead, the business cards for council,
Okay,
and that's what's in that line current.
it's good refresher, all right, so print and binding, will make business card envelopes. And then, okay,
Okay,
236, we left off on the
computer supplies, office and computer supplies, so I'd like to leave that at $3,000. We use that for, printing and then some small equipment. We're going to need, printers this year. When we do anything for, the registrar of special paper, it doesn't fit in the copier. My printer is now dead, so I have to use Lindsay's computer to print. So I'd like to leave that where as is.
Okay, I'm sorry, go back up to, line 235, formats were charged.
I think they should have gone to building and grounds, but they were charged to me, I think, because Lindsay ordered them.
Right, electrical supply, 0, conferences and meetings,
Right, so, conferences and meetings are the Hunter County Clerk's Office, we get, I get CEUs for those, and Lindsay does go as well.
education and training, there's an increase in this one. We didn't spend it all this past year, so what's going on there?
Okay, so Lindsay, is taking clerk's classes, but you know, you're at the state's will, whatever courses that they make available to you. So I'd like to leave that line at, we have that at 3,500.
It's an increase of 35, yes.
So, she will be finishing, I believe, this year her classes and planning to take the test in April of 26.
Was she not able to take classes that were not offered this year that she now?
So you have to, there are classes that you have to take, but they have to be taken in a certain order.
Right.
So, and then sometimes they're online, but sometimes they're during the day. So she was trying to do it and still maintain her work schedule. So that's why I was asking for extra for a part-timer in the event that Lindsay had to take a class during the day. She did it this year.
Is it likely she's gonna complete her license and sit for the test next year?
Yeah, very likely.
All right,
That's the plan anyway.
professional association dues.
Right, that's not just me. I believe that, other things get charged to that. Sue, could you please confirm that?
I have dues for both you and Lindsay.
Right, but do we have, like, the league, is that charged to that account or does it come out to the administration?
It's not in there. I just have your, membership, MCANJ membership dues. Yeah, it's all NJRA membership dues, notary renewals. I think the actual, the 538, the league membership is there, yes.
Yeah. That's what I thought I saw. So that's not just me, that's for the whole city. So I'd like to leave it to 1,300 so that we make sure we cover the league and me unless you're going to pull the league out and put it into administration.
So the court is the only one that you know of that pays for the league themselves from their previous guests.
No, that's what she's talking about is the city for the whole entire city, not for the league when each employee goes.
Sorry, that's on my brain.
Yes.
So this is the membership.
For the city.
Yes, okay. Well,
Okay, so I really haven't, I have traveled, but I haven't submitted. I typically don't, but I will be this year.
Okay.
So, that's the league, that's going to the clerk conferences. I'm gonna start tracking mileage.
okay. Election expenses,
Right, so last year we asked for 6,000. We still don't know what the, general election fee will be, but I'd like to leave it, I'm requesting 5,000 for 2026. That's for the rental of the machines. It's, for the ballot box outside. It's, anything related to, sometimes we need new signs to direct, people to the polls.
so you had 6,000 allocated, 24, you were using 5,000.
Right, because it's not a presidential.
Thank you.
Residential, they tend to, charge more. There's more activity.
Okay. Other expense outside of caps is 0 line. Application ordinances,
Leave it at 10, but I don't know. We just recently got a new, invoice. Sue, could you tell me what the line's up to?
There's 3,616 remaining
Okay.
in that line item.
So I have to batch all of the ordinances from July through December and send them, and so we'll get a fee for that. So if I didn't go over 10,000, most likely won't go over 10,000 for next year, but again, that's all based on the number of ordinances that the governing body adopts.
There was a discussion that it has to catch up period, you were catching up on emergencies, are we at regular maintenance mode now?
You know, I will be at regular maintenance mode, but I don't know how they're going, how they will. If they're going, I'll send it to them, the beginning of December, but I don't know if they'll bill us in December or if they'll bill us in January.
If they bill us in January, we can, as long as there's money available in the 24 budget, we can pay it out of there, the 24 budget.
I guess more so my question was every year we kind of talk about this number.
Yep.
And, so 10,000 seems to be where we're gonna land going forward based on regular activity.
Cindy, that invoice that we just spoke about, the $1,100, is that going to be an annual fee in
Yes.
addition to their posting?
Yes,
Okay, so that's
yes,
part of that 10?
they charge, yes, they charge us, to update the website. And, then they charge us, they charge us for just plain old website, and then they charge us every time we update it. So you'll see a couple, and then they should be charging us separately for the paper, for the printing and binding.
Okay, so, even though there's a balance remaining there, their original proposal that they sent, there's only $275 left on that blanket purchase order, so we'll have to have a new proposal from them for the remainder.
So that 275, I'm not sure is going to cover all the ordinances that we introduced and adopted from July to December. So we may go over.
Yeah.
So we may want to up that to 12,000.
Yeah, because I don't think we took an accountability of the annual maintenance fee.
Well, mine is this, I'm sorry,
The codification of ordinances, line 300.
we want to go up to what now? I'm sorry.
12,000.
Anything else on OE?
No.
John Capital?
So a couple things in capital. I already mentioned the printers, my printer, that's gone. But it's like a $400 printer, so doesn't have to come from capital. We are currently using a Surface Pro from 2014. And it's right here for our sound system. I'd like to replace that and upgrade it. There are times when we come down and we can't get it to turn on, so that's an issue. We need a new laptop, for the deputy clerk. She is currently using a,
Hold on, wait, you go quick, I'm with you, just trying to keep track. So the first item was. Okay, that. This could be duplicated if we leave them both places, so wherever we decide to purchase is gonna be, we're taking it one or the other in request.
that's fine,
Okay, it's the same printer we're asking for,
yes.
and then the laptop. The laptop, is that for the deputy clerk and that's
It
the
is.
same?
It is, I didn't put that in the other line item, because I figured it's $1,000, so that's probably something that would qualify for capital.
But that's, so that laptop is different than the Surface Pro I'm talking about now.
It is,
Okay.
yes.
So Surface Pro, Surface,
Surface Pro,
getting Surface Pro. then.
that's different, that actually is something that would stay here and connect to our audio system.
There's also a request in here for an increase to the audio system of this, the Justice Center.
That's correct.
And that would be separate of this. The $75,000 capital request. for it.
That's right. And that is because our speaker system microphones don't work half the time. When you do, you can hear it turns on, it turns off. We need to have sound machines here, soundproofing on here, but most of all, we are not ADA compliant. So we need to put up something that is visual for people who are visually impaired. And we need to fix this so that the public can hear when they're out in meetings.
If you were to, if that were to happen in 2025, is the Surface Pro still a consideration or is the system probably gonna have its own?
No, I think the Surface Pro would still be needed.
Okay.
And it would be needed either for Zoom to continue, because you still have to have a way of monitoring it here from the dais.
I'm just looking at our list to make sure we have that.
So I was doing math. Did you
Not on there?
mention replacing all this, the whole, installing a whole new sound system?
Yep, that's 75,000, because it's not just sound, it's audio and visual.
Right,
And what we did is we brought Scott Elliott from the Progressive Center down, and he actually went through the building and gave us some ideas, like putting up, smart TVs, fixing our sound system, putting soundproofing on the wall, and doing this system called the Loop. And the Loop is actually something that would be run in the ceiling, but anybody who had a hearing aid and had a cell phone would be able to come into to the city, turn on and it would automatically connect with their hearing aids. And that would help us to be ADA compliant.
I understand Hunter County Commissioner's Room has that kind of technology.
A lot of doctor's offices have it now. You see when you walk in, they say we're part of the Loop.
Right.
But the reason we need to replace, moving on to Lindsay's, her laptop is she's using a Chromebook that we purchased in 2020 that, does not give her the capability of logging on to a lot of different venues. So
She has a desktop that she works with full time. This would be her computer. She's here working.
at a seminar, or even to take home to do her coursework. And then, if our office is reconfigured, in 2025, it's like it's not a good working area right now. I've got one person that is, has maybe 2 feet of workspace to move around. So if we reconfigured that, I don't know how we would do it, but I just would like to have an allowance of $500.
Right, the, also here, let's make sure, just note it as, this, no, they're duplicated in LP. That. Yeah. Right, and then, public restroom,
Yes, we have a bathroom on first floor that's pretty embarrassing. So it's functional, but, they can't clean the floor anymore. It's so old, so every time he washes the floor, pieces of it come up. So it's time to upgrade that, I think.
Okay.
But the biggest thing is, the ADA compliance near the elevator room. If you have somebody who's coming in, who needs assistance, they have to try to open that door and get through it at the same time. Plus, I think the lighting there should be automatic, so that, because right now, if anybody comes in and 4 o'clock, it starts getting dark. You can't see in that room. I've almost felt that falling down the steps a couple times.
it doesn't help with the light switches at the entrance door.
Yeah, so we really need to upgrade that.
wasn't
And
that elevator built for ADA compliance
It
at one
was.
time, but there's no mechanical door there now?
no,
Yes,
and
time is
actually,
required.
if you go up in the elevator to the second story, there is a thing on the outside for you to hit, but it doesn't work. They never connected it. So, but there's nothing downstairs on the exit. So we need something there. We also need it here at the Justice Center.
There's no mechanical doors here. Okay.
No, and, we owe it to our community to be ADA compliant.
Okay.
So I think that's all I have.
Yeah, that was your full list. Great. Anyone else have any questions? Anything else to add, Cindy?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Well, our next guest is here, and I see Councilor Stagman join us as well. Hello. Do we need to take a 3-minute break before we go on? Okay. Well,
Where do you want me?
Right there, right next to Ron.
yes. Sue, do you want us to wait?
No, that's fine. Christie's got the laptop.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, just please introduce yourself into the microphone for a recorded hearing.
Any other guidance, zoning, floodplain, subcode officials in the plural?
Right, so if you would be so kind, maybe read us through, because there's multiple parts throughout the budget that you have authority. So where would you like to start?
It's really, I think it's really a pretty simple budget. We can start with salary and wage if you'd like,
Which,
for the well, all I have is the uniform construction code.
so you have,
Section. You've got a zoning board section that was sent to me, but that really is under Crystal's direction as far as I understand. But, yeah, if we want to start with the uniform construction and salary wage, I will be retiring this coming year. Likely May 1st is my official retirement date with the state. My last day of work will be sometime beginning or middle of March, depending on vacation days. As soon as the final decision is made on the replacement, they'll end up being at least a couple week transfer period between, well, the two of us will be working in the office at the same time. And then whatever vacation time I have to take, of course, I'll be collecting my salary during that time while he's actually working, so. What I'm suggesting for the salary wage is 170,000 for the year to cover that transfer and double work time together. It may work out less than that, but I'm thinking that if we put it in there, that number, then we have enough to cover that. Transfer of power, you might say, transfer of position. And then the Frenchtown salary wage line item, I've suggested at 70,400, which is just a 2% increase from this year. The overlap between the new code official and myself would be covered by the Lambertville line.
And do you expect the same activity in 2025 that you saw in 2024 for Frenchtown?
Frenchtown, where there was supposed to be some other projects that started this year in Frenchtown that did not. There are a number of larger projects that are proposed in Frenchtown that just haven't actually hit the construction office yet. So I do expect the higher level of work there in Frenchtown. It may be justified to lower the salary wage in Frenchtown a little bit.
can you just explain how this, where this money goes to, et cetera? Not by name, but just an allocation back, it's just for employee,
For
the line we're talking about.
the salary wage.
Yes,
Yeah, there's construction official, and building subcode official and inspector, plumbing subcode official and inspector, fire subcode official inspector, electric subcode official and inspector. Those are all of the uniform construction code, the zoning.
It's a shared service agreement that we have
And
with Frenchtown. That's how it's set up in the.
that's one, go ahead, Christie, please.
Yeah.
Yes, that's how it's set up in the budget. It's a shared service agreement with Frenchtown. So we collect their construction fees, which is the revenue in our budget, and then we pay the salaries for the individuals that Mr. Rogers mentioned out of the shared service agreement, out of the Frenchtown budget line item.
So then those employees are salaried employees,
Correct.
and their compensation is based on their agreement.
There's
Say-
a shared service agreement that we have with Frenchtown, and the salaries are based on the agreement.
Okay, so you recommended a 2.5% increase.
2%.
2% increase, what's that 2% for?
There's the standard.
Okay,
cost of
so
living
what would it
increase.
be with, so if we look at the number from the previous year of $69,000. Of course, the governing body made a decision about the 2% increase, so is it 69,000 times the 2% increase?
I believe that's what I figured, but then right now talking about it doesn't sound right in my head, but I'm not great with math in my head all the time, so. But yes, that's what I did was.
Okay, so in previous discussions this morning, you said we're gonna put in the actual salaries in this document, and then whenever the increase is decided upon, it'll be. Or only close to that.
Okay,
Yeah, you're right, yeah, you're up by $20.
$20.
$20, I didn't see right there, it's pretty good. So, all right, so let's change that number to 69,000, keep it the same. Do you expect any, besides your retirement, do you expect any other changes in your workforce next year?
Currently, there are nothing on the books
Good.
for any other changes.
Right, so we go to 222 change fund, that's
That was all
zeroed
the same.
out. Then we go to combined gain 800,
Yep, and I'm recommending keeping it at 800.
and what comes out of the account?
Form printing. If we need to make copies of products that we can't make copies of, like plans, every time once in a while, we have to take it in and have them copied at a local store.
Is this
Whatever.
only Frenchtown, it's only Lambertville plus that 800?
That is only Lambertville. There is a separate line item down in 302 for Frenchtown office supplies,
Want to just
where
talk about that now then, you want that right now, what's your request on that?
same 500 is what was this year.
Okay, that's 302.
That's correct.
All right. Let's go back to 226. It's nothing there, means equipment. Let's go to 233, books and publications.
We do have a code cycle coming up. I expected it this year for 2024, but it didn't happen, so that money was untouched for this year. But the state is in the process of adopting the 2024 codes. And that should be effective early next year. We do have a grant in with FEMA, which could potentially cover those costs for code books. But it is not approved yet, so I don't want to count on that money until we actually receive that grant. But it will cover our costs for code books for 3 years if we get that grant. And there's some other office equipment that is included in that grant. And the money is already bonded for our share of the cost in the grant.
All right, so it's a $3,000 spend, if not, we don't get the grant. And when's the last time that books have been purchased?
Would have been 3 years back.
So the books are now 4 years old?
They're 2021 codes, so they're 3 years old right now. They'll be 4 years old next year.
Okay, so we just want to make a note that, because that number's gonna pop off the page, so we'll make a note that the books are, and for the state's decisions down there. All right, looking at computer supplies, 1,000 appropriate, 660 spent. Your recommendation?
It's just keep it the same.
Okay.
1,000.
Conferences, and meetings, 2,000.
Keep that at the same as well. Crystal's license now requires CEUs. She should be actually attending conferences. She hasn't in the past. But
When
she
did you
should.
get a license?
It used to be called a registration. And she's had it for many, many years, but this past year it got converted over to a license with the state that requires CEUs to renew.
So she'll have to go for the CEUs in 2025. She didn't have to.
She probably needed to get some for this year, but I'm not sure when her renewal comes up. But it will be, so she's included in that.
So this line item was another employee that was there before who needs the conferences and meetings.
Right, and we've got an electric subcode official that has always done some things, but he's never submitted for it, but it should be available for all employees.
So there's additional employees in this line item from previous years. That's why we're going up to 2,000.
I think I kept it the same.
Right, but the standard was
Spent
dispensed less than half.
1,500. I think.
The actual right here is 774. That may be a week or two old.
Oh, yeah, there is the flood conference that was submitted. Maybe it's not showing up
Okay.
in there, and I think it was
So,
reimbursement for all of it was close to 800 or 900. It's coming up.
okay. All right, education and training. There was nothing appropriated, but there's something spent to it, $45 it seems. So. But we're getting most of our spending in conferences and meetings. We need to So that 45 probably should have been put there.
Um, I think we should have money added to that. We haven't had it in there before. We should have some money there. We're going to be stepping over into fully digital electronic systems. The state is working on the electronic seals for plumbers and electricians and some of these other licenses that require a raised seal currently. And once that gets enacted, then we might have some training that we'll need for these new systems that we will have. Some of that might be included in the grant if the grant is approved. But again, I don't want to rely on the grant money to cover it if it doesn't come through.
What's the recommended number?
I'm recommending 2,000 in there. Cover any classes and training education that we might have to be compliant.
Can I
with
ask
state
that,
requirements.
that's a real line for the department. Can I ask you to maybe put in writing to the mayor what that entails?
Sure.
Maybe
I
grab
can
the
do that.
memo to the mayor because,
Just so you know, Michael, that $45 was, an Oprah webinar that was attended by several employees of the city.
okay,
That was just Ken's portion of, that's why it was charged.
thank you. All right, well, association dues, about the same.
Yeah, keep it at 750.
Going to.
What I have is 301 UCC Frenchtown, and I
Yes.
believe that's part of the payments back to Frenchtown. But I'm not sure exactly. I never charge anything to that account. That is, I think that's something that they use in the
That's
finance.
the, Frenchtown reimbursement for the permits that we process for them, the 10%.
So. We have a lot of processing like that. Does that get done in chunks? Because the.
Quarterly,
Okay. So is that 8,000 number 24, the number we want to keep at 25?
I would,
I would probably keep it the same, only because it's 10% of the revenue that we collect on their behalf, so. Obviously, there's an offset, right? If we collect more revenue, it goes in as our revenue, and then we have that offsetting expenditure, so I think that's where we've been keeping it. I mean, unless you anticipate the number to go down, or do you think it's gonna be the same? I mean, I know it's hard to tell, but.
It is very difficult to tell, and I would recommend keeping it where it's at. It's
Right,
much
so it's
better.
based on, that number is, driven by the revenues that we collect from Frenchtown. So obviously, if we don't use it, then, it's,
When do we have all of 2024 on the books in terms of expenditure? Would that be the first quarter of 25?
when do you usually do it, probably the first meeting of the following quarter?
I just do a purchase order.
Right, but you would probably do it,
Well, when, I could probably do it before the end of December, at least have it encumbered. Because the construction office is closed the week of,
I guess my
No holiday.
question more is when will we know when 2024 was complete, so then we can.
yeah, not till the end of December. Because we have all the, revenue to collect for the Frenchtown permits for the month of December.
We still have December, so it wouldn't be till January.
probably, so I would say probably the first or second week in January.
So why don't you guys tag a note then, we'll review this after we see what the 24 numbers were.
And the December revenue doesn't get turned over to finance until we get the
January.
bank statement and it's time.
Yeah, but I base
Second week
that
of
off,
January. something like that.
but I base that off of your SDL reports. Your
Right.
calculation to pay them.
All right, so we'll revisit this account, but let's say February 1st. Maybe we'll have it before that and then we can revisit. Great. Cindy, do we have Crystal scheduled?
No. That's planning and zoning, I would think, and HBC, so the boards, we didn't do boards.
They're just boards. Okay. Okay. Go over, anything else on OE?
That's all I have.
Should give you a minute, just catch up.
Health inspection, Isn't
Yeah,
that-
there's a line that says inspection and code enforcement OE, but it falls under the it's in line under the construction department. But that's the bills by the health inspection.
What are you looking at? What line?
County food licensing. Right?
Two ninety.
It's, yeah,
299.
299.
Yes.
No, I hear.
You showed me a picture of a screenshot from Lester, and why is Lester saved in your phone? He goes, oh, ever since we changed emails, I lost all my contacts in my phone.
Not all of them, but
What does that
work-related
mean?
ones.
They don't have one, doesn't.
I'll tell you something, and I lost the shit on my computer too, I'm telling you. So maybe because it was connected through email or something, maybe that's.
No, but you should have,
Contacts in your phone. and
I
not
didn't
iPhone.
lose all of them, I only lost people that I work with, so it has to have something to do with that.
did you tell, maybe that's what we were sending stuff out, saying if you missing your contacts.
It's only Lester.
You have to have Kelly take a look at that for you, Skippy.
This would be better. All right.
All right, does anyone need a break before we move to our 11:30? I think first time in history, we're actually early. You're always here early and you have to sit 10 minutes while we catch up. All right, Lester's here, want to come on up?
I can go do something else real quick.
No, nothing better than what you can do right here, right now.
Hey, Kenny. Not so famous Roger.
Nice, look.
See ya.
We got DPW and solid waste, all right. Two versions. All right, you want to just introduce yourself as the recorder here.
Okay. Lester Myers, Director of Public Works, City of Lambertville. I also brought the possible next director with me so she can understand what goes on with these budget hearings.
Welcome.
Brittany.
This is last resident, look, this is the high point of this year. He counts down like a child for Christmas.
This is my last one.
Show your say.
So where do you want to start? Which division?
Whatever you
What
want.
do you have in front of you?
I don't have any money left anyway, so.
Right, well, I want to start with Public Works, because that happens first.
Sure.
Okay, in Public Works, we have regular earnings of 196. Last year, I'm sorry, hold on a second, okay. Last year, we budgeted 196, 610, we spent 187. I think we're on track for the same number. Is there any changes that, any retirements or hires that we should be talking about?
Well,
I got Rob retiring
Yeah.
in April.
Closer, sorry.
I have Rob. I have Rob Worthington retiring in April. And I have myself in September.
Okay. What are those titles?
Rob's just a truck driver laborer
Okay,
and director.
is CDL?
Yes.
How many, just for the sake of discussion, how many employees are in public works in this public works budget?
8.
8? Are you including these 2 retirees in that 8?
Yes.
How many full-time, how many part-time? How did the,
Who would that be? Is
I
it
did, yeah. I think it's 6 and
Those,
6 and 2?
is that right, Sid?
Mr. Worthington is all charged to solid waste.
Yeah, there's 2 budgets that falls under the Public Works Department, it's Public Works and Solid Waste. So, they're all handled by, under the Department of, Lester, but they're broken out between the 2. So I believe there's 8 between the 2 budgets. Look, right, so they fall under like one umbrella, but for budgeting purposes, it's broken out.
Okay, do you have an idea of how many of those 8 are full-time, part-time, et cetera? You want us to come back to it?
6 are full-time, 2 are part-time.
Okay, so there, and then of those 6, 2 are going to retire.
Correct.
Okay, I don't know there's a lot more to talk about in that number because it's between 2 different divisions. But, it seems that, and same thing with the overtime. And the snow removal, I guess it'll, snow removal will be a little higher. Hopefully we're having more of that this year. But then the overtime charging, let's look real quick at solid waste overtime.
We're next year.
We're already a little overexpended in the solid waste overtime and we're under on the public works. So, okay, we'll take a look at those things as Christie explained them.
is it beneficial to keep them separately? In separate categories?
I think you charge back grants on some of these things, don't you, in communities and that sort of thing?
Yeah, Lester usually handles the clean communities and the
Recycling
recycling
grant.
tonnage grant.
We did an analysis
I mean-
last year, 2 years ago, where everyone's labors are, maybe we should just do that again, let's take a look and make sure that as people take on new tasks and we have them in the right departments. All right, let's go to anything else, salary, wages for public works? From the team? Okay. Maintenance of vehicles. So put the numbers in from last year, right, is from the budgeted amount, and then we'll highlight that after we separate analysis.
No good there.
So this year we overspent as of now, there may be more expense coming in on maintenance of vehicles. What's in maintenance of vehicles?
Everything from services, tires, oil changes,
Is this just public works vehicles?
correct.
So that's it, and it's not like it's for the whole fleet?
Do you charge in-house repair items for this too, or just all in-house stuff?
Mostly out of house and some in-house,
Okay.
whatever I can do on my own.
All right, and with the new vehicle purchases that we've had, do you expect this number to stay the same, go up?
They go up.
Okay.
I have 2 old pickup trucks right now, you got an old dump truck.
So the number, on this report is about $8,900 spent, what would you tag it for the year for 2025?
I do 10.
Okay.
Just to be safe.
All right, maintenance of other equipment, 4,000 was spent, 5,000 allocated last year, what do you recommend this year should be?
I keep that the same.
Okay.
That's for equipment like the sweeper, backhoe, skid steer, it's all equipment.
Okay. Other contractuals, last year 750 was budgeted, 0 was spent, what would be under other contractuals?
I get rid of that anyway, I don't even use it.
Okay, we'll zero that out. Clothing uniforms, 1,000 was budgeted, last year 798 was spent. What would you recommend for this year?
Keep it the same.
Okay,
That's even with potentially two new people. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because I have another one under solid waste. If half of it goes under solid waste, the other half goes under public works.
all right, vehicle parts and accessories, 4,000 was budgeted, 3,400 was spent. What do you recommend should be this year?
Keep that at 4,000.
Okay. And I'm gathering this is where you buy most of the items that you use that repairs yourself in-house.
Correct.
Okay. Janitorial supplies, 900 budgeted, 311 spent.
We keep that the same.
Okay. Electric supplies, 200 budgeted, 104 spent.
I keep that the same.
Hardware and minor tools, 400 was budgeted, there's an over expenditure, the 657 was spent. What was the over expenditure?
Just extra tools that you need.
Okay. Once you buy a tool, you keep a tool, so it's 400 fine.
I'd probably up that to 5, just to be safe.
What kind of minor tools do you buy with that?
Could be drills, the batteries for the drills. Blower, our electric blower now, I could use an extra battery,
Okay.
just in case something goes bad.
General machine parts, 850 was budgeted, 567 was spent.
I'd keep that the same.
Okay. Conferences and meetings, 0 line item for you. Education and training, 3,000 was budgeted, 2,000 was spent. What type of education and training is in this department?
That's with training for public works license. I just renewed this year. Also some other classes that Brittany needs to go through. Because, she's going to need to go through the, recycling coordinator course also. And I have a gentleman going for his CDL next year.
Professional association dues, 90 budgeted, 90 spent.
Same.
Same.
Yep.
All right, 0 on public works food. All right, equipment, snowplow equipment, 12,400 was budgeted, 7,000 was spent. Can you explain a little bit of this category, equipment, snow plowing equipment?
That does everything from de-icing, snowplow, parts. Whatever I need for snowplow,
Okay,
Salt,
salt assets, de-icing,
so the salt purchases go in this category?
correct,
That's, you get from the county the bill?
correct.
Okay. So do you have an idea of the year to date what we spent on salt?
back in March, with the county,
Yes,
no, we have not been billed, we didn't use any, I don't think, we just used sidewalk salt from, local vendor heroes, $265.
so this $7,000.
As far as road salt, I haven't, there's no bill there.
So the $7,000 is probably that much salt.
This year.
Like nothing this year.
That's
But
because-
what we did put there was the rich tree invoices for the yard cleanup. We took out of there.
I think it was 23, we ended up buying, we had that big
The
salt.
end
Right,
of
so
23.
We had a surplus and going into 24.
We did,
Okay.
we did. So would that be
About $5,000.
It's about 6 or 7.
Okay. So then, being that we're at 2024, we budgeted 12,400. I think 12,400 is a good number again, just because the way the payment for the salt fell was between years,
Depends on how much you get dumped on.
right? All right, so let's make a note that salt, it's approximately 6,000 a year. All right, safety and equipment, 1,300 budgeted, 1,485 spent.
Right, up that to 1,500.
What's in that category?
Just your cones, barricades. Some signs.
Okay.
Probably about that one.
Other equipment and supplies, 4,353 were budgeted, 2,500, I'm sorry, 2,500 spent, the budgeted 4,300 was spent, notable expenditure.
It's just other stuff, like light bulbs for street lights, sidewalk lights. I had a lot of them replaced.
When you talk about streetlights, you mean the ones in the central business
Yeah.
district, we have the,
Sidewalk.
not the JCP&L ones, these
No.
are the lower ones.
So is that a once a year occurrence, once every 5-year occurrence? Just the line's overextended, so if it's overextended because it's a one-time item.
It's throughout the year. I mean, I replaced a lot of the light bulbs. Probably replaced like 12 light bulbs over the past year. Plus, some of the eyes to keep them on, turn them off.
Sue, any ideas?
I have, new sweeper signs came out of that line item.
Okay.
Let's see, the chain that you use for the Shad Fest, for the barricades. The cart that you purchased for whatever purposes and shop supplies. Basically,
Looks like your
More-
stormwater permit.
yeah, there's a stormwater permit that comes out of there,
How much is that?
1,050.
Sue, how much were the signs? The sweeper signs? So that was a one-time expense this year.
360.
360? Okay.
Yeah, they were sign faces.
Oh, plus shipping, sorry. So,
So we're gonna have $1,000 every year for stormwater? Is that a renewal?
I believe so.
Is that new to this category this year?
That charge is new to the category, yes.
Okay.
There's also a purchase of a chainsaw that was billed there too. That was big, that was like $600 for a chainsaw.
So in previous years, we stayed pretty close to the 2,500 number. Add 1,000 more for the renewal of the permit, we're at 3,500. So we agree to 3,500?
But should we be breaking, does this say
Yeah.
stormwater alone?
So I would talk to them about
Got
that.
it, okay.
We'll talk about it at lunch. I would just make a note about that $1,000. We might put it somewhere else. I think we will put it somewhere else, but we'll talk about it.
All right, then can I recommend for now, just
Yes.
put it to 3,500, make a note of 1,000 that may come out.
Yep.
So we don't lose it. Okay. That is account number,
258.
thank you. Okay. Another overspending category in road repairs, we budgeted 1,000, we ended up actually spending 5,076. It seems that this is this category wasn't used before, but unless there's a major repair that's new for this year for 2024, what can you tell us, Lester?
That was mainly for blacktop for potholes and then also crack sealing, open Lambert seal development. The rental of the equipment.
Was that a project that you do every year?
Every other year, you can get away with doing that.
So the $4,000 difference, Sue, Christie, any thoughts?
I'm seeing, I'm sorry. The traffic paint that we bought for the, I guess, the crosswalks.
Yeah,
The rollers to go with that, the crack filler.
and the crack filler was the big one. That was like
Yeah, that's.
25 or over, that was over $3,000.
Yeah, the crack filler alone was $3,000. And then you had the, wasn't there a machine, a Tampa rental too?
Yes,
So that's in here also.
So $5,000 for an annual road repair budget for the whole city doesn't seem unreasonable. But just the difference between 1,000 and 5,000 is pretty big. So we were just not doing as much of this before?
It's been like maybe 2 or 3 years since they've cracked sealed up there. But I mean, they got worse. But if we do it every year, it won't be that bad.
So you're recommending that we put the money do it every year?
Yeah, I'd keep it at 5, at least 5.
5 got 2 years. So do we need 5 for 1 year?
Are there other places where you should be doing that and you're not?
Because all the other roads are in pretty good shape.
How often do you buy the traffic paint? Every year?
Every other year, every year, depending on what I need. Plus, I'll be getting, I'll
We
be getting
determined
some
that
out
should
of,
come out of a bond, right?
Yeah.
More than enough money in the
we're
railroad
working on
bonds
that.
for the thermoplastic paint and the signs, and some of this stuff should be coming out of the bonds. I thought that this project on Lambert's Hill was coming out of a bond.
The Lambert Hill project did.
Okay, so
This is just crack filler for general repair throughout the city, correct?
It was for that job.
Okay, then I'm.
So a general road repair bond that we should be using, Christie? That we could be using?
I believe that.
Okay.
2023 road work, I believe. The Lambert Hill stuff just, was just charged there.
and the crack filler as well?
No, the crack filler came out of this line in Lester's budget. I thought there was another road thing. that
Well,
was
how much was that?
This one, the crack filler, it was 3,130, 123.
That was
That was it.
that was the whole bid.
So
Okay,
I was
so
under the-
this was from July.
Yeah, that was the first time they got it. The second time, the second one came out of the bond.
Okay, so there was two,
Yeah,
okay, that's why, there's two different
there was
ones.
2 different ones. I had to finish up in August.
But they should both come out of the bond ordinance. I'm sorry, we're having this discussion now, but it's
Sorry, I'll
important
move it.
for the line, because it's either something that we do every other year, or it qualifies, in terms of longevity for the bond ordinance. So I thought I thought all of these projects, because we haven't done this since, in the last 3 years, certainly, it's the first time we've done it since I've been mayor.
So are we able to charge back what was charged this line 24 to that ordinance?
Yes, I can do a budget transfer, or not a budget transfer. Yeah, a budget patch to move it.
Okay, see, $20,000.
You're welcome.
Around, this is great. Okay, so then, if that's the case, then we could probably put this to me 1,500, give it a few extra dollars,
I'd go with $2 grand.
$2,000. So what do you plan, how does $2,000 get us to where we need to be? What do you want to do with that?
Extra blacktop. Just like I had that emergency with a sinkhole popped up. I needed extra equipment, camper and
But I
everything.
think we're gonna charge that to our road maintenance ordinance.
Well, that's. I guess you can.
Okay, so let's put 1,500. And then we'll make a note that we have to charge the road. Road maintenance ordinance. And then Sue, you've got the separate action of the budget match. To take it out of 2024.
Yeah, I wrote the 3,123 and the purchase order number, and then there's a 865 rental fee that'll also be moved into the road job.
What are those two numbers again?
But 3,123.32,
Mhm.
and then $865.04.
Thank you. All right. Shoreline expenses.
That's what road salt came out for 2024.
And that's how much it costs.
Okay, so we have road salt should have been charged. Let's talk about this a second. So 250, we said we're gonna charge a road salt to account for the 250, but it was charged to.
But in 2024, it was charged to 260. Which is why that line's over.
Okay. So
So
you net it
we're-
together, kind of end up. About where it happened. So what do we want to do in the future? Do we want to charge it to 260 or do we want to charge it to 250?
And all the same money.
It doesn't, it's important for tracking purposes, so at least we know. That we have an over expenditure on one line, we have an under expenditure on the other, so we might as well.
Might as well do 250 then.
That was the
I
question.
thought-
We'll put it in 250, okay, very reason.
Okay.
So put in 250 going forward, because storm expenses could be other things except salt, correct?
Yes.
So do you want me to move that as well? Switch it? Or just-
I recommend that, so that next year we see it the way we did it. All right, so we're gonna move 6,242.39, all of that is salt. Okay. Good. Anything else on DPW, OU? Down, go to solid, we'll go to solid waste. For solid waste, salary, wages, and overtime, I recommend we just again move the numbers from the 24 budget to 25, and then we'll review it as we move through the personnel review. Okay, so then same for the overtime. Zeroed accounts include postage and delivery, printing and binding, and let's go to maintenance of motor vehicles. And budgeted 20,000, this is over expended by about 15,000, the total 45,742. So this account's over spent about 15,000. Can you tell us a little bit about this one, Lester?
Major breakdowns.
What are the vehicles that are in this division?
My big trucks. Garbage trucks, the one garbage truck, the one recycling truck, and the small garbage truck, and also the backup garbage truck.
How many total heavy vehicles is that?
4.
Now, there's of those, are any of them new for this, we just received? So it's,
No.
of those 4, 1 is new. Okay. And did that replace an old one?
Yes.
Okay, so these major repairs. Then, with this number 45,7, with 1 new vehicle in 2025, and 3 are old vehicles, do you expect the same number for 2025?
I already have to get my small garbage truck up to be looked at for next year. I'm holding off until temporary budget comes in. That's gonna be an expenditure right away. There's some other stuff I need to do to the backup garbage truck. Little repairs here and there.
Can we get an estimate of what it would cost to overhaul the small truck so that we know going into 2020?
Not really the body part, it's the motor part I'm having trouble with.
Okay,
I get mice in there that chewing the wires and the whole system goes haywire. That's what's happening now.
Is that L10, Lester?
No,
Because there was a lot of repairs for L10 in this category.
that's the small garbage truck. L10 had a lot of repairs because that's a 2009 recycling truck.
Are you recommending your capital replace any of these vehicles in 2025?
Recycling truck,
Well, tell us a little bit about the recycling truck. What's the size, what would have to replace, what's the cost?
it's probably another 32 yarder.
32 yards.
The last one cost 260, you're probably saying 280 to 300 for the next one. If not more.
All right, I'm gonna suggest that we take a deeper dive and suggest maybe we get some estimates together because the numbers range is too great for the decision I think here. So let's tag this one to
So
analysis.
Lester, I have a question. So if we do put a recycling truck in the capital budget, what is the turnaround time for recycling trucks? The third,
It took almost 3 years for the trash truck that I got, so
that's what I thought.
I don't
Yeah,
know,
so that was even, I'm sorry.
but it could be another 3 years before you see another one, I don't know.
So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the issue that I think you're seeing statewide with, or with getting garbage and recycling trucks is the timeout is so long, so, you know, you have the repair budget almost looking double what it is, but yeah, if we put something in, it's not like we're gonna have something, you know, immediately. So it's just gonna be kind of band-aiding something probably until it gets here.
Correct. I agree with that 100%.
All right, so let's add recycling truck to the capital review list. And the number we're targeting, was 280,000 for the first number on the page, and then we'll have to do some research. The other two vehicles are they can be repaired and maintained, or are they in end of life?
They can be repaired.
What's the year of the recycling truck, do you know?
It's a 2009. And also the backup garbage truck is also a 2009.
All right, keep going. Good? Yep. Okay. Other contractual items, $180,000 was budgeted, 188,000 was spent. Sue, do you have a handle on where your expenditure came from?
It's just the basic, the only thing that goes in that category is the waste management and the Colgate bills, which is the recycling, and we did try a different, recycling location this year also. It's the only thing in there.
So should we, offline take one of those invoices and project 2025?
Yeah, so Colgate is your recycling where years, you know, you go back maybe 2-3 years ago. Towns and municipalities were getting paid for their recycling, and now the cost of the recycling is probably more than what it is to actually dispose of trash per tonnage, if not close.
Mine's still under.
Is it still under? I think I think it varies from county to county.
Correct.
I know in Camden County, we're at like $160 per ton.
Really?
When we're only doing like $90 a ton to dispose of trash, yes. So those costs, you know, just to give you different ideas, you know, throughout the state, but, you know, so that's one of the reasons why those.
Is there, you know, sometimes you read where they put out a trend, what they're expecting for 2025. Have you seen anything, or we just don't know?
I don't know,
Colgate goes by market value, so whatever they're paying. I mean, it's, I think the cheapest we paid was like $48 a ton
I'm not sure, I don't
this
remember.
past year. I think the highest was like 68.
Paper is still market based, you can still sometimes see fluctuations and buy that on paper, everything else is just premium pricing. All right, we'll get the invoices in and we'll put our heads together again and figure out what the right number is. Vehicle parts and accessories. 15,000 was budgeted, total spent was 58 or 5,900. Why would this be under expected?
Because they didn't need that many parts.
Okay, good. Okay, so janitorial supplies,
Skipped over clothing and uniform, 232.
thank you. So $1,000 was budgeted, 368.25 was spent, what's the number this year?
I keep that the same, because now I get it, this year it's shirts and jackets.
Okay.
1 year I do shirts and jackets, the other year I do boots. Safety boots.
Great. Janitorial supplies, 350 is budgeted, 0 spent, what's the number this year?
I could practice that down 150.
Okay.
But
and minor tools, there's one expenditure in there, or there's an expenditure of 2234. It seems like a single expenditure. Do you differentiate these accounts when you're buying things, or is it all in the shop?
I usually look at it.
Okay.
It depends on what it's for. If it's for my trash trucks, I put it towards solid waste. For my other trucks, I do public works.
So if you put $100 in this category then?
Yeah,
Or remove it?
you can remove it.
All right, Sue, what's it, the 22, what's the $22.34?
It was a Finkel's bill for nuts and bolts.
I'm sure we could have got that out of vehicle parts and accessories.
All right, so let's plan then to zero this out for next year again. General machine parts, 0, and then other equipment supplies, what's in here, $2,087.79,
Me,
please.
hydraulic oil, mattress bags, oil dry.
Okay, 5,500 is the number from last year, you didn't spend it all, what would you like to do with that?
I keep it the same,
Okay,
just in case.
and then miscellaneous and other admin costs, there's another expenditure there, Sue, it's 2,320, and then page 650 was the budget, what's that number?
That was from Somerset County, from the CDLs on it.
No, that was last year. It looks like some Rutgers classes,
Okay.
the random drug testing for the employees. Physicals. The new registration for the garbage truck, but that's not a lot of money. Most of it is the drug testing expenses.
So it looks like we do not have a education and training in the solid waste budget, but we do have one in the public works, so maybe we should look at changing that line item title to education and training as opposed to a miscellaneous. Because I'm assuming is that what she read off, is that all education and
Yeah,
training,
it says-
for the,
It was all
Solid
made out
waste
to
employees.
Rutgers.
so that's probably solid waste employee training.
Yeah.
So you want us to change that line item to education and training?
Then where would we put the drug testing?
Education and training, it's fine there, no?
Or we can add a line for education and training, we can leave this as a miscellaneous and admin cost at a minimal. And then I can add a line for education and training.
That makes sense, because the
Yeah,
drug testing is really admin. So, okay.
Yeah, it's.
and how much was the
mandated.
drug test?
It varied by how many they did, who we tested, right? So we have to, I'd have to break it out.
Do you think
Let's see what,
500's good?
no, because there's one here just alone was $540. Because that was a physical and drug testing. So at 1,000, just for that. Because I got 540, I got 80, I got 30.
We just had a drug test.
We haven't been billed for that yet then, right?
We should add that. Yeah, but, right. All right, so we're gonna add a line for picking up on the label of education and training, but with that solid waste. And then we're gonna break this out. So, how much was Rutgers?
There's several different charges.
Okay, all right, so we'll make a note to go back and look at this, break out the Rutgers charges there. Okay. Anything on buildings and grounds we should be talking to Lester about? Well, you said because I have a lot of those items you handle with us.
Well,
Just maybe every once in a while, a building like. We had our fire inspection here and I needed to put CO detectors in every room. All that stuff comes out of that.
right, and we have that, and then, we're going to have, like the annual reporting, does that come out of buildings and grounds? I don't really know what comes out of that.
I mean, all the elevator stuff, the generator stuff, all that should come out of that.
I'll tell you in a second, sorry.
All right, so we're gonna, still let's make a look, we got generator, elevator, fire inspection.
Right, and we have the fire extinguishers, right?
Fire alarm system,
Yeah.
need to be certified every year.
That, some of that may be an admin too,
Yeah.
so we'll take a look.
Take a look, because it should all come to one, out of one place. You have your boiler inspections.
Mhm.
Cleaning comes out of there,
Yeah.
fire extinguisher inspections, the maintenance to all the generators. Any repairs that are needed to any of the furnaces or any of that. The annual maintenance agreement for the elevator,
That's all in the buildings and grounds.
yeah, the security, fire alarm system. Secure, yeah. So like, and we're gonna transfer the security system from here, I believe, into this category as well.
Any other capital requests, Esther?
I would need a pickup,
Is that a replacement? And which division?
public works.
What's that, approximately what size? Okay.
F-350 pickup with a lift gate,
Okay,
When are you replacing?
L2,
How old is L2?
2011.
they sell to 2011. Okay. That'll mean that.
Do you know how many miles now?
So that means we're gonna attempt to replace 2 of the 4 in that fleet this year. Right, recycling solid waste, I'm sorry.
Solid waste.
Got that wrong. How many vehicles are in public works?
3, 4, 5. 5.
5. Okay. Anything else?
I don't know.
Right, well, I hope this is not your last budget hearing. Anyone else have any questions for him? If maybe the last item, yeah.
It depends on how circuit pump pencil.
We moved to the end.
That's
You
good.
should know whether or not you are retired or not, we always have box seats available. VIPs, so please. All
I
right,
do want to just,
sure.
like, thank Lester and recognize his, award from House Lester, who was it, that award.
They snuck that one in on me.
So the word that many years.
Oh, he is, go ahead, tell us more about it.
It's, American Public Works Association, the New Jersey chapter. It's some guy's leadership award
Mr. Ward,
When did you get that?
this
Yeah.
year.
a couple weeks
We
ago.
we gotta go down there on the 4th of December.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
well deserved.
And then Brittany has taken the test for Public Works, so she's waiting to hear the outcome.
Good luck.
Thanks. Yeah, so really, Lester has fostered the whole department well and has made sure people are trained, which is good. So we're moving forward.
All right, anyone have anything else before we take a break? All right, so we're scheduled for a lunch break.
Yep, and just for anybody who's tuning in, I see that we have, well, I guess they're all employees, but there is an afternoon session, so we'll sign out of this one and log on to the other one just before 1.
Thank you, Cindy. All right. All right, well then we'll take a motion here, we'll pause and then we'll come back, so thank you.